5 back to Jordan. Last show. All right. Let's do it. Hey, welcome into Locks Before Lock. Here's the good news. We have a gigantic basketball game to kick things off. And the not so bad news by any means, because I think it's a good thing, is, well, first and foremost, I don't want to bury the lead. Matt Savoca's in the house. So that's the great news. We only have 2 games on the slate. Don't worry. All right. I want everybody out there. We have mined a ton of value thanks to Odd Shopper. So we'll be here for the next half. Deeper dive, live before lock. You know the drill with Locks Before Lock. Jordan is here forever, so he's hanging here. Savoca, my friend, I haven't seen you in months, man.
I know. We've been like ships in the night, seen you around, obviously, on the Awesemo channel streets here, but thrilled to be talking this 2-game slate. And that is the first time I've breathed in 2 shows because I didn't get to do a whole lot of that in yesterday's 12-game slate. We went through every single one. This time we'll take a walk through each of these games a little bit, even before the deeper dive, then give you some ideas of our favorite bets. And maybe even we'll throw in some single game parlay ideas that we're thinking about. Some more reasonable, some more off the wall for some of the crazier listeners in there. But thrilled you guys are here early before all the deeper dive and live before lock stuff later on tonight.
Here's the beauty of having just 2 games is that I was able to pull together a bunch in this game, first game at least, of rational, reasonable attacks, a 2-leg same game parlay to just having so much time on my hand with only 2 games, coming up with some outlandish shit. But we'll work our way up. Obviously, we'll build our way up. I mean, look, we have to start with some of the obvious things that have been going on for the past, 6 or 7 days surrounding this first game, and we'll get to that Warriors-Nuggets game by all means. But here in Philadelphia, and I noticed that you're wearing your New York hat, so I don't know if you're trolling subtly or what here, if it's just what you were wearing in your previous video or what you were doing here, Savoca. But the reality is that this game has a couple of pretty big narratives that are going to be behind whatever you think is going to happen tonight. First and foremost, it's just this nonsense surrounding Ben Simmons coming back, but I do think it helps fuel Joel Embiid. And then there's also this Kevin Durant where it's like, hey, James Harden, this is the first time that these guys are taking on Harden. Granted, it's not back in Brooklyn, but I think that there is a message that both Embiid and Durant want to send to kind of respond to all of this national bullshit that's behind him. And we don't normally start with drama, but in this case, it's kind of hard to ignore it.
Yeah, I guess so. And at the same time, that is the beauty of Awesemo.com and subscribing to all of our premium tools. Not to be a huge company man, but like, honestly, that is the goal, right? To cut through all of the noise, figure out the signal, use historical data, and then make informed decisions off of that. And obviously, we're talking about betting here more than DFS, but it obviously plays into, the way that people perform. Sports psychology is a thing. I just think it's particularly hard to measure. If you ask me, the most likely outcome in this game is the Stars completely showing up, in all regards. And I think that, I personally think Philadelphia is going to smoke them. I don't really see a lot of scenarios where it goes right for Brooklyn, but you can conjure up the ways that it does, right? The Stars come to play. Kyrie Irving does more than he's usually able to do. And Kevin Durant, of course, can be the best scorer in the world at times. So I think that's the most likely outcome here. Absolutely not. It's really a tale of 2 teams since this trade, right? Because Philly, since the Harden deal, absolutely red hot. Not only are they playing fast, they're second in pace of play. They're 9th in net rating, 7th in assist percentage, and maybe most surprisingly of all, Eytan, they're 4th in defensive rating. Small sample size, I get it, but by the way, they're one of 7 teams to be 4-1. So we're seeing all those advanced metrics turn up as wins as well. That's a big deal. Meanwhile, Brooklyn, obviously, we still haven't seen them at quote unquote full strength. We hope Ben Simmons can contribute more eventually. Right now, they're 13th in defensive rating, 28th in net rating, 26th in assist percentage, 28th in rebounding. I guess they're 7th in true shooting and 9th in pace. That's why this game has a much higher total than the nightcap game here. Again, it's still looking like Philadelphia in terms of win percentages. They take this one 60% to 70% of the time.
Not bad. I'll take that. Look, for me, the where I'd like to start as far as my play and kind of vibe it off you, especially looking at the data that I know that you're constantly looking and updating from a metric standpoint to see if it makes sense with the play. But again, combining what we've seen with this team, both teams on the floor, star power that's in play here, and a little bit of this narrative that I think is going to fuel these top heavy guys, Harden, Irving, and then of course, Durant and Embiid at the top. I like going over the first half. I think you're going to see both teams come out and rely on advantages, matchup advantages. Let's be honest, there aren't many people in the league that can slow down either Kevin Durant or Joel Embiid. The secondary impact of Harden and Irving, neither team really is in position to kind of stop. It's just to outscore. So I think you're going to see this. And also, what's the best way to kind of distance yourself from all this crap that's going on, Harden, Simmons, etc.? It's come out and play ball. So I really like going over. I got in a little earlier here, but Matt, I like going over that first half total of 120, and just at a minus 110 play for me is fine.
I dig it. I dig it a lot. And let's go with that. Let's roll with that narrative for a minute, because this is my big decision point here when looking at the Awesemo projections. Obviously, I was talking about it just a moment ago. It's about what you do with our tools, how you interpret the tools, which, by the way, we have a new package from Discord that is exactly that, talking about how some of our analysts interpret our tools. I digress.
No. Pump up away, my friend. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, in case you guys haven't heard, right now we are doing a premium picks package over on Discord, a premium betting channel where some of our absolute best analysts, including Steve Buzzard, DeColts on many DFS platforms, and Alex Awesemo Baker himself, are giving you their top plays. And I've really been talking about this behind the scenes, but now in front of you guys as well. I think this is an amazing thing, not just for people who don't have a lot of time and want the give me the answers tool from Awesemo.com, but it's also for people who want to use these interpretations of our tools as a data point for themselves moving forward. Even for me, as someone learning all the time in this space, betting just became live in New York this year, remember. I want to know how Steve and how Alex and how Ben are interpreting these tools, how they're using these tools and making the most informed plays based on the math. Speaking of that, I'm going to take a stand right here because we need to talk about James Harden and his projections on Awesemo.com for a minute.
Okay, let's do it.
Obviously, right, he's been on fire since joining his new team. He's averaging a cool 24.5 points, 7.5 rebounds, and a just crazy 12.4 assists per game since joining the Sixers. And for about a week straight, I've been looking at the Awesemo projections every single day, which, as you would expect, they are correctly heavily weighted based on historical output and historical individual output. They keep recommending all these unders for James Harden,
right? Yeah.
And I'm just not doing it. I'm not doing it. In fact, I'm going against it here. Harden has played at least 35 minutes in all of the games that he's played for the Philadelphia 76ers. He's had at least 9 assists in every game he's played with Philly. He's had 11 or more assists in 4 out of his last 5. And I don't think Brooklyn is good enough defensively or really cares enough defensively to stop him from getting his. I'm going over on 11.5 assists, and I'm putting that as parts of parlay. I'm making that a key ticket that I'm doing as well. I just really think that Harden having 12 or more assists as an average is something that he can actually keep up or keep that average near that level. Probably comes down a little bit, but I'll take the over tonight.
Here's something to keep an eye on. And look, it's going to correlate to a guy like George Niang, who, thank God, you can now bet on as far as like FanDuel and on any of these 3-point props. But there's a sneaky play to how Harden is getting these assists. And it's in this second unit that he's running where he's the lone starter out there. And you see the spacing. And Niang has been the main benefactor, right, of all this, right, benefiting most of it all. But you're getting these moments where it's not just Maxey, Embiid, Harris. It's not just starters out there where Harden is having a field day, but they're running that lineup, part of the rotation, where Harden stays on as that lone starter. And then that opens up everything for guys, that bench guys that are just benefiting from the spacing as well. So you really have any time he's on the floor. And I love that little secondary lineup. And I can correlate that too. Like if you want a nice little same game parlay here, you can open up with James Harden over his assist total, 12 plus, how you look at it. and just simply go over Niang's 3-point total, because those two are going to correlate very nicely tonight as an opportunity for Niang to be that main guy on that secondary lineup there, that unit where Harden can really, and we've seen this already in this version of the rotation there. So I love where you're going first off, because you definitely have seen the impact with starters, but I think a lot of this is also boosted with that second lineup that you see with Harden out there.
Look at this stat. I'm going to call you out, Dan Frumer. I may have mispronounced that, but
no, Dan's a sharp guy, especially for first half stuff, first quarter stuff.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Well, happy to shout you out here, Dan. Great stat. Assist percentage for Harden, 53 since moving to Philadelphia, 22.5 potential assists over his last 5 games.
All day.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. And it's so funny because isn't this how Harden got his start? And isn't this how we got to know Harden on Oklahoma City, where he was the second unit, and now they're finally finding a way to use him exactly how he should be, especially with a star like Embiid, or sharing the court sometimes with him.
All right, so I'm just going to hit you with this really quick to see if you like the value on it. And again, I mean, we're going to bounce around here, individual plays, and we'll get to some wild stuff by all means. But what we just talked about, this 3-leg same game parlay, Harden over 11.5 assists, Niang over 1.5 threes, which correlates to him over 8.5 points, is a plus 348 return. You like it? Or is it not enough?
I dig that. No,
okay.
I'll take that. Absolutely. I especially think these
You're much easier to please than Lindquist. I love this.
So one of the things is like these 3-pointer projections, and especially I've been talking about this on multiple Locks Before Locks show. I think when we're talking about people who have statistical outputs, raw numbers around 1 or 2 is actually where the Awesemo projections shine the most. So especially if you can tell that story in your ticket where one player does well and that impacts another with this secondary rotation, I absolutely dig it. It's not my absolute favorite in terms of looking at value here, but this is exactly how I want to build my cards, right? They tell a story all together. So in that regard, I really like it.
There's a pretty interesting angle here that you can take with Andre Drummond, and Odd Shopper loves going over his rebounds, but over his assists even more. And if you look at it, I got to give a shout to Kyle Filippi here in Philly for this stat, but Drummond getting, as far as assists are concerned, Drummond over 1.5. He's hit that 5 of 7 games against Embiid. That's it. It's over 1.5 assists. And as crazy as it sounds, at least based on what we have on Odd Shopper, the metrics there combined with the free projection you're getting from Awesemo, he's got an easier shot of getting to 2 assists than he does hitting his rebound prop. So I want to attack that with the hopes, and I think I can trust this, that he's not going to be in early foul trouble, but he's been able to facilitate up on Embiid, and I think going over that 1.5 assist prop makes a lot of sense tonight for Drummond.
All over it. Had it as one of my top 5 bets here for this game. Had it in my single game parlay. If I had just one single game parlay, Andre Drummond over 1.5 assists. There we go. You could do over 9.5 rebounds, but honestly, I just love players who play a lot with these low raw number single game stat props. It's kind of fun. It's one of those things too where I'll be talking to my friends and they'll just say, hey, I just put on a prop for over 1 assist for this bench warmer. Odd Shopper had it going and it hits in the first quarter. Boom, we're done. Easy money. So I hope that happens for Drummond tonight.
All right, we'll hit that second game here in a minute or two. Just want to hit a couple of little things in this game, get a little crazy with you because I have to, by all means. Look, if you're hanging with us before the deeper dive, hit that thumbs up button, please, and make sure you're subscribed here as well. The Odd Shopper channel, you see all of us every day putting up new content. Loppy's got his best bets in the NBA. I massacred that on the opposite end. I destroyed his streak last night, so I apologize for that. But we have tons of content on the Odd Shopper channel, including, of course, just directing you back how to use all of these tools that we have that are free. So make sure you subscribe there as well. Okay, do you have anything that is a little out there in this game before I hit you with 2 quick ones?
Ooh, you go first. Let me see if I can stir something up here and look through my list.
Okay, so where I got a little crazy here, but look, I'm building a story. All right. James Harden, 12 assists. We've already talked about that, right? Seth Curry is back. Both teams, by the way, recently have been significantly above their season average defending the three. So I think you can target 3-point shooters tonight with the expectation that you're going to get a bump at 1.5 attempts, which is always going to help a volume shooter. I preface that by saying Harden, 12 plus assists. Curry, Seth Curry, 2+ made threes. Irving, 2+ threes. Harden, 2+ threes. Maxey, 1+ threes. And I think what helps here to boost this to plus 1602, Matt Savoca, is Kevin Durant, 35+ points.
I love it. I love it. And it's the same thing too. Correlate that play, have a little bit more Kevin Durant in your DFS lineups, or hedge by being, less bullish on him if you're playing both ways there. You can kind of do it both ways, but I love that. Absolutely. Seth Curry is one of those players who I think the volatility of his scoring is something you could play into. So if you're talking about wild bets, adding Seth Curry with 11+, 12+, even 13+ points as a way to get your parlay to pretty heavy plus odds, I don't think that's unreasonable there. And we're just talking about one extra 3-pointer made, which is, how he's being used effectively. So, his plus or minus in terms of his scoring projection is actually a little bit more volatile than players who average around his same scoring level.
Yeah, and Jamie Moore, we're not related, and don't do that to Matt. He doesn't deserve that, man. This guy is here working, giving you insight about the slate, and you want to bring him down by saying he looks like me? Come on. We can do better.
It's beard, hat, lively, gregarious.
Mediterranean bridge. You've got that, right? You've got some heritage from there. Yeah, it's this bridge.
That's absolutely true.
All right, anything else you want to clean up in this game, man? I think I'm going to rest my case on that belligerent one. Again, I love Niang over 1.5 threes, over 8.5 points. That's a 2-leg same game that gets you at plus 113. The Drummond 2+ assists, over 9.5 rebounds. That same game parlay gets you plus 188. So I think you can have some fun here with just 2 legs. Do you have anything that you want to clean up before we hit the second game?
Yeah, we didn't mention Tobias Harris. I think he's another player you can go under with his assists.
Okay.
To under 2.5 assists. I think he just contributes in other ways here. But when I see an expected win percentage up over 70% and a much higher expected value than I thought I would see there, I think that's just kind of an easy one as well.
All right. So let's hit the Nuggets game, Nuggets Warriors. And why don't you start with, give us 2 that you're really looking at if you can, or maybe just the biggest one. However, if you have a 5-star play, we only have 2 games, right? So if you have one that everybody should be paying attention to in this game, let us have it. Side, total, first half, first quarter, Jokic, it's wide open for you, Savoca.
Honestly, I think just if you're building a single game parlay, the first place I'm starting, Jokic double-double. Just do it. It's happening 58% of the time this season. I think if you're looking in terms of percentages of it happening this game, in terms of what we have as a median projection for rebounds, points, and assists, the percentage is probably around 2/3 of the time, maybe even 70% of the time. That's a little bit bullish, but I think Jokic double-double is as close to a lock button for this game. I think Steph Curry also steps up in the threes department. I know you got to have a lot in order for it to really change your betting card. So you're not talking about, life-changing money with that one. But I think these 2 players come to play. I don't think Jokic played enough last night to really affect his playing time here in a game that should be really, really excited. As Awesemo said in the chat, these are 2 really, really good games. And as a fan, I'm just so stoked for tonight.
I'm just curious, you mentioned the Sixers. We're both on the same side. We like the Sixers to win the earlier game. Who do you like to win this game? I think you can still get Denver, at least earlier. I had this for the Island game on Odd Shopper. You got them at plus money. I like them at home as that home dog just because of how well they've been playing. I know Golden State feels good after that last win, kind of getting back to where they should be. But even in that win, it wasn't dominant and okay, even Curry with some inconsistency. So I'm just deferring to the better team right now. But do you like Denver to win this game? Do you like Golden State to win this game? Because I think that will aid me in my next play to kind of throw it off you here.
I really like Denver money line. Again, it's almost the exact same conversation that we were talking about in that game. If Denver money line as a bet goes wrong, how it happened how you explain it tomorrow, how it happened is no one's at a loss for how that happens. Right. Curry goes off, Clay goes off. Wiggins has a game. That's maybe the narrative that we're talking about that we don't really take account for. But I think Denver money line, when I look at the stats, this is just the better team, especially if you just want to get a good enough sample size, more than a month or so that the, good or bad streaks are a little bit less relevant than they should be. So last 10 games, Denver is 9-1, best record in the NBA, 8th in defensive rating, 3rd in net rating, 4th in assist percentage. And then this is just insane. 1st in assist to turnover ratio, 1st in rebounding percentage, 3rd in true shooting, and 2nd in pace of play. So they're fast, efficient, and good. That's a great basketball team. Golden State Warriors, 3-7 over the same span. Not to say that that's indicative of what they really are. They're still the 3 seed, but they've slipped behind Memphis in the standings. And over that same span, 11th in defensive rating is just meh. 22nd in net rating, that's a little concerning. 20th in defensive rebounding is really concerning. They need Draymond, obviously down the stretch. At least they're 7th in assists to turnover and 7th in true shooting. So they're doing what we know they are capable of doing as a shooting team and as just a disciplined veteran team. But at the same time, Denver just looks to be at another level. Could this go wrong? Absolutely. Yeah. But I think Denver money line is the easy choice for me.
I love that. And unfortunately, we're not getting much of a break here because I thought we could combine Jokic double-double and Denver to win and bump it up, but it only moves it 10 points. Now, look, you'll take 10 points. That's great, but it didn't really bump that up. The money line at plus 110, Jokic double-double, Denver to win. That double right there is 120. But you mentioned this with Embiid, or pardon me, James Harden, when we talked about that first game, Matt, how there were a bunch of unders on Odd Shopper. You were fading that. You were looking at Harden, what he's done as of recent, and going over. Are you doing anything like that with Jokic? There was one that I saw here that was a little interesting. Now, again, it's backed up pretty heavy by Odd Shopper and Awesemo's projection as well, which, again, is free. Every time you go to Odd Shopper, you're getting Alex's projection, which is what you're not getting anywhere else where you can shop odds. But under 14.5 rebound. Now, look, I'm still with you on the double-double. This is not a 9-rebound night for Nikola Jokic by any means, but hitting 15 is pretty tough. The projection has him at 13.3, so we know that's shading a little heavier towards 13 than not. Any interest in there? I mean, it's a 64% chance of an X win that it goes, so near 2/3 shot that you're staying under 14.5. I still like your window of a double-double, but this was intriguing to me.
I would say intriguing is the right word. And the word I have in my notes is efficient. The Jokic lines in the single stat categories are just efficient because they know it's a player people want to bet. And so they clearly spent the time and made sure these lines are very, very correct for this star player. Honestly, I'm not going to be betting these unders that are mathematically correct tonight on Awesemo.com for Nikola Jokic. Maybe it's the fan in me that just simply doesn't want it to happen. Maybe it's a narrative that I'm pushing here already, saying that he didn't play enough yesterday that really pushes me to think that he's going to change how much he plays tonight or how effective he is tonight. I just don't want to play that game. I don't want to mess with it. Yeah. I'm not necessarily taking the overs. I'll take the over by playing more of him in DFS.
So I have one that I think is a little bit of a stretch from what we've seen as of recent, but the volume is there and it's just kind of hard for me to ignore it. But I want to go back to you if there was a player prop or anything else you were looking at first half, quarter, anything that you were able to pull from your own data or just applying what you got from Odd Shopper.
Honestly, it's kind of these middling prop lines once again. As I said, those Jokic lines, I kept kind of trying to grind one, just the double-double, yes, move on. How about Jordan Poole over 3.5 assists?
Let's do it.
Honestly, it shows up as one of our best. It serves as one of our best value plays tonight. He's averaged 4 assists per game over the last month. Hit the over on this 3.5 line in 60% of his games during that span. We've got him projected for nearly 30 minutes tonight, and that's really the kicker, right? Because that'd be 4 more minutes than he's averaged over his last 10. So I think that's just enough in terms of this game environment and how much usage he's getting. Right now, it's our highest ROI assist bet on the board in this 2-game slate.
I love that, man. It's not only a great individual prop, but And again, this is how you can use On Shopper, where it's not just, hey, let me go on there. And granted, there's nothing wrong with going on there and seeing all the work that's been done for you, just going to the book and placing a wager. But if it's building same game parlays, or if it's just attacking certain numbers where you know you can use that as an anchor for just a regular parlay, if you were looking at just 2 games tonight. But Jordan Poole, I mean, think about that. Our data is supplying you with not just a plus return on this play, but such a strong, like the same type of return that you would get from an X win, at least, of a bet that's, minus 115 or minus 120. So you're able to get the best of both worlds, and you're not finding that many other places here. So let me take a little bit of a risk here. But again, I'm banking on a couple of things, and I'm going to appeal to your world more so here and what I'm seeing from data. And Denver, again, over their last couple of games, significantly higher, nearly 6 full percentage points higher defending the 3 than we've seen this season. There is a little bit of vulnerability right now during this stretch here. I'm with you that Curry, the real Curry, comes back, has a big night. But I think there's something to Poole being on the floor a lot and also being a little more of a distributor. Klay Thompson is going to get looks tonight. And I think you can push this here because of Denver, the matchup, and take a shot at 4+ threes at plus 200. We've seen the volume. It's just the makes haven't been there. But if I can get 9 tonight, if I can get 9 looks tonight, I like him having a bounce back night and going 4 for 9. Again, I'm banking on volume here more than anything else in the matchup against Denver. It's a risk. I get it. It's a risk.
I saw that too. I did. Denver is 4th worst in the NBA. Just really small sample. Last 3 games,
sure,
they are giving up the 4th most 3-pointers in terms of percentages, in terms of 3-point percentages. It hasn't been like that over the course of the season. And honestly, this is the stat that I'm really still wrestling with, because when we look at the season stats, the worst team in the NBA in terms of allowing 3-pointers is at 37%. The absolute best is at 33%. So we're really, really splitting hairs. And, we see a little bit more volatility on a 1 or a 3 game sample, obviously, but I did see what you're seeing on that small sample trend.
Just had to bring it up, man. That's all.
Absolutely.
That's all. All right. anything massive or crazy that you got? I have one here that I saved for the end. It's a plus 8265, 6-leg same game parlay plus. It's monstrous. Nobody should play it, but I figured, maybe I'll get that out and then you can end on like some positive, rational note. Does that make sense?
Absolutely not. We are headed. We are that right turn off the highway meme. We are going right off the rails. I want to hear this wild parlay.
All right, here we go. So Klay Thompson 4+, that's in there. I gave you that one earlier, so that's locked in there. All right, we go back to the earlier game, and the other 5 legs are all in this earlier game, but we're going Kyrie 3. These are all made 3s. Kyrie 3+, Seth Curry 2+, Durant 2+, James Harden 3+, Tyrese Maxey 3+. That's plus 8265. It's a lotto ticket, Savoca. It's not supposed to hit.
Okay. I actually really dig that. And, I found myself down a 76ers YouTube rabbit hole thinking, what is my life? But gosh, there are some really big Maxey fans out there in the ethos. I will say that.
Hey, better him than Tobias Harris. That's all I got to say. All right. So
shots fired.
I
dig it. That's awesome.
Okay. Anybody else? Anything else? Anything you want to leave us with on the way out here?
I don't have anything. I'm such a math guy. I'm sorry, Eytan. I'm here sitting going like Aaron Gordon 2 threes. Yeah, like okay, sure. But math, that's nothing.
Math
compared
drives
to
winners. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I actually saw that they had some boosted parlays over on DraftKings tonight, and things like Jokic double-double, Denver money line, and Steph Curry 3s. Those things all sound pretty interesting to me. You can add that Jordan Poole over 3.5 assists or Aaron Gordon 1 or 2+ threes to really make it an interesting 5-leg parlay. But that's not lottery ticket level. We're talking about, somewhere about a 10 to 15% chance of something like that hitting. Yours. Oh man, put a unit down on that. You could end up a very rich man at the end of the night.
I'll just kick it back to Jordan at Shander Show at Draftaholic. Appreciate everybody hanging. Thumbs up, subscribe here, the Odd Shopper channel. Deeper dive right now. Don't go anywhere. Thank you all.
I like Jordan. I like how he's just assertive now, right? No more like, hey guys, we ready? Hey, yo. And then he throws his hands up. Now it's like, we're going.
Yeah. One of these days, I'm just going to do nothing. Teach him a lesson.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA Deeper Dive presented by Odd Shopper. My name is Dave Loughran. Along with me is Joshua Engleman at Josh Engleman on Twitter. Follow me at Lafayette_D. 2 games today, but some good ones, right? Not like next Thursday night where Josh will be talking NBA strategy show for a 1-game slate. Detroit Pistons, Orlando Magic. No, none of that stuff. Hopefully you'll join us anyway, but we got a lot to get into today. A lot of top tier players. Talk a little Odd Shopper, get into, some of our favorite bets. I did the video every day of the weekday, Monday through Friday on the Odd Shopper channel. Check it out. Somebody told me on there, Josh, that I paid his rent this month. So that was good. I like to hear that, right?
Yeah, I'm glad that he got his rent paid. I hope that's a positive thing and not a negative thing for him, but yeah.
Right. In the sense that like next month he goes, Laffy, I'm homeless. It's your fault.
Yeah. Now I didn't pay my rent. Yeah. Like, right, were you going to pay it anyway?
Right. It's always good until it's not.
Exactly.
But I'd love to have you guys check that out. We'll talk about some of that today. Happy to have you guys with us. And see, Michael, look, he said, you guys definitely paid my rent this month. Good stuff.
DFS has not paid my rent this month. That much I could tell you. I feel like I took on like 3 more houses.
The swings are wild.
They are not. I'm not Adam right now in a lull, but it's a lull.
Yeah. Oh, Adam's swings are insane.
His current swing is not fun and makes my stomach hurt.
But he was just on a positive upswing that was insane, like crazy.
Yeah. Like it's still good for the like a bigger, like, you make the range bigger. It's still ultimately gigantically positive. But if you look at it for the past 2 months, it's like suicide inducing. If you don't take a, if you don't, I know. That's not even like, I don't even say it like it's a joke.
I know. Oh, I know. If you don't zoom out, take like a 30,000 foot view sometimes, you'll be in a world of mental anguish.
Yeah. Every single morning you wake up and you're just like, oh, cool. Another 60% bath that I just took. And the grand total is 6 digits.
Yeah. In a month. And then you go
hard to deal with
150K and you're like, okay, everything's right in the world again.
Right. It's one of the biggest pieces of DFS that people don't even really think about.
So we came into this show with 120 likes. I just hit it. Now we got 145. What should the goal be? I mean, 500. It's a 2-game slate.
500 easy.
Okay, 500. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. If you forgot, it's cool. Tone for your sins, my friends. Takes 1 second. If you like this stuff, hit it. Let's get, at least pop it over to 250 right here out of the gate. I think that's very much doable.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And subscribe to the channel. We try and bring the heat for you guys every day. It's the least you could do. We got over 1,000 people watching. And if you want to join the channel, hit join down below. Get the custom emojis, the free super chats each month, the sweet badges. We'll always prioritize your questions and comments along with our premium Discord members. And we got something cooking too, Josh. For all of our members, we're going to be doing like a sweet bracket for a sweet March Madness bracket. Giving away some great prizes, like big time premium subscriptions, our new betting subscriptions we're going to be giving away. So
nice. That's
pretty cool.
Yeah. It'll be the second best bracket pool we've ever run.
You're talking about NBA 2K.
Absolutely.
That is like one of the greatest achievements of our lifetime in the sense of how quickly we put that together.
Yeah. And the fact that like, I'll probably never do anything as cool as that.
No, the guys on the back end though are the real heroes. Being able to put that together, that was nuts.
We didn't really do anything other than enjoy ourselves.
It's always the idea, though, man. If you're the idea man, you can go places.
It's true.
That is true.
I wish we could do it again, sort of. Not because we have to, but because it's fun.
For sure. Yeah. Oh, maybe If baseball didn't happen, we could have run it back.
Dude, I don't want to watch a real baseball game. Are you kidding me?
No, if baseball didn't happen.
Can you imagine watching like the fifth inning of an 8-1 game in MLB The Show? Good God.
You're missing what I'm saying. I'm saying if baseball didn't happen after basketball ended, we could do it.
Gotcha.
There's no way I'm simming an MLB game. No way.
That sounds truly terrible.
Oh, God. Calling balls and strikes.
Oh, each pitch. Oh, my gosh. Ugh.
Well,
whew.
Yeah, we'll definitely be doing that, though. And Jordan went and looked it up. Tony Purcelli just hit the 12-month badge, that iced out looking badge. He is the first one to ever become a member here. So, Tony, big ups, bro. Yeah, Jordan was right. And you could go
I assume Jordan's lying, but that's fine.
He showed me. It was actually our CEO, Tom Kennedy.
Okay, well, I trust that Tom could figure it out.
Right? No, he was the first.
Oh, if Tom was the first member? Got it.
Yep.
Yeah. I like it better thinking that Tom figured it out and told Jordan.
Yeah. Andrew, I'm not down on baseball. I definitely plan on betting it, playing it, all that stuff. The thing is, for me, I love talking basketball. I love talking football. It's just everybody has their preferred sports. That's all, Yeah.
It's just not the same. It's not as good of a DFS product to talk about is my hang up.
That is
I love playing it. It's the best sport I have from an ROI perspective. I just don't like talking about it as much because you can only talk so much about like Mike Trout being a really good hitter. And then it's game 2 and then it's game 12 and then it's game 112. And you're just like, oh, I said the same shit for 4 months.
Yeah. We saw this exact matchup 5 days ago. Yeah.
Right. Like Mike Trout's price doesn't move and he's the same play every day. It's just like, okay, he's got to hit a home run to be worth it.
Yeah, man. Tony, that badge does look sick though. Not even lying. Like that looks good. I need mine. Jordan, where am I at? What's my timeline, man? So we got 2 games though, Josh, and then we'll turn it over. You got Live Before Lock tonight with Greg and Eric. They're taking you up till 7:30. I like these 7:30 locks, but Brooklyn and Philly, you said to me today that you didn't think anything, intense was going to happen with Ben Simmons, right? And then right after, because he's going to be on the bench, right after the show ends, I send him this video that I didn't know until then of Ben Simmons like leaving a Starbucks, going to the bus, and just, vulgar language being tossed at him. I honestly,
and obviously that doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
No,
I've been on the streets of Philadelphia before.
Is it weird that I actually felt bad for him? Like I didn't think that was cool. In a way, it's like that's kind of funny, but it seemed like he's still a human. I don't want to get all mushy on you here because I'm usually whatever, but guy's still a human. Like that was
if you're yelling like go Sixers and stuff, it's a completely different conversation. That wasn't
go kill yourself.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
It really
wasn't good. I hope that Starbucks was good though. I hope you got those egg bites. Delicious.
Yeah.
I eat them. Dude, the amount of money that I've spent at Starbucks on egg bites over the past calendar year is a real problem in life.
I haven't been to Starbucks in probably like 15 years.
I spend $15 there like every 2 days.
I just use a Keurig, get some good coffee in the Keurig.
Oh, I don't even give a shit about their coffee. That's a food. Starbucks is a food place. Yeah.
All right. Dick Chuck says, I hope he succeeds in Brooklyn. Now, that's a good one. I don't, to be honest with you. Like, I'm not willing to go that far. I don't know, but I don't think you should, chastise the man to the point where it's just brutal. But anyway.
I mean, obviously you don't because of your Philly tie. I clearly want him to be good in Brooklyn because I just want good basketball across the board. And I think them being really good is awesome.
Got to draw a line somewhere.
Sure.
So they're going up against the Sixers today, 4.5 point dogs.
Yeah.
It is interesting though. You said when you started your show, your process show and looked at the line and filled that out, it was like 229.5. Then I tell you it's 231.5. And then we look and in the middle of our show, it's up to 234.5, talking about the total. Now it's at 235.5.
Insane. The other game went up a couple points too. Like I had in from an early line. So moral of the story is I guess I should have bet the over.
This morning.
Yeah.
You're getting 6 points on that if you bet the over this morning.
Yeah, that's just even if it doesn't win, it's still a win.
Oh yeah, if you're beating closing line value like that, if you're getting closing line value like that, beating the closing line, that's a win every single time. Yeah. I try and explain that to people. Like, even if this loses, if the way to look at it is, if you made that bet, right, every single day, if you could find those bets with that type of closing line value, there's no doubt that you're more profitable than anybody who's just getting in on it like 30 minutes before lock.
Well, just think about it like this. Like, let's say the line is 200 and you bet over 200 and it moves to 205. I'm just like picking numbers out of a hat right now to make it easier. Just imagine when it gets to 205, if you needed to sell back those points, what the line is that you ultimately have to bet. Like, if the line then moves to 205, but you still want to take it at 200, like an alternate line.
Oh, right.
It's going to be like, minus 190 or minus 220 or something like that. If you're selling off 5 points, whatever the example is going to be here, that's how you could see it. Instead of betting a minus 110 game at 205, you have to sell off 5 points. It's going to cost you a fortune in juice.
Yeah, it's a great point. Let's see the alternate total for what was it this morning? 229.
Just use 5 points. Just take 5 points off. That's the easiest way to do it.
All right. Minus 175.
There you go.
Yeah.
And instead of having to bet every day at minus 110, you're saving that extra minus 65, which is not the way to say it, but yeah, 65 cents.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Let's make it happen. Let's have a little bit of fun here.
Let's do it.
Brooklyn Nets, 4.5 point dogs. And I mentioned earlier, on these 2 game slates, sometimes you will get a lot of top tier players, but with one like this, you have a Harden and a KI, an Irving. You have an Embiid and a Harden. Durant and an Irving, and then Harden and an Embiid. You have Jokic, you have Steph, but I mean, that's almost an afterthought at this point with all of these other guys on the slate. But when it comes to a guy like Kevin Durant, and you mentioned on a per minute basis, you mentioned, because we were on the strategy show this morning, really hasn't been that good. But 2 games ago, he made up for that in spades just with the fact that the guy's playing 39 and 40 minutes. So if we get back to seeing Kevin Durant playing 39, legitimately 40 minutes in regulation, there's a lot of meat on the bone there. And he's 10-3. So how does he square up against, and I'll just zoom out here, against guys like Jokic and against guys like Embiid, and how easy will it be tonight to fit like a Jokic and a Durant, or an Embiid and a Durant in the same lineups?
I mean, I think you're probably getting to 2 of the studs in most lineup constructions that you have today. I think that just leads you there. There's too many of them. The raw point ceiling is too high. Jokic, Embiid, Durant. I'm reading down in FanDuel's list right now. Jokic, Embiid, Durant, Harden, Irving, and Curry are all 9,100 or more. After Curry, it drops down $1,600 to Tyrese Maxey. On DK, it's Jokic, Embiid, Harden, Durant, Irving, Curry. You drop down $2,400 after Curry to get to Tyrese Maxey. Like, there's a very gigantic gap in all of this. And I think you're probably trying to grab 2 of those guys out of the top if you can. The total expected ownership on those top 6 guys, the 6 studs, 220%, which means that you're getting at least 2 in every lineup. And sometimes people are jamming in 3. And that's probably why we see guys like Nemanja Bjelica at 39% ownership.
That's the thing. Like, if you're loading up on these guys, how much of this garbage value do you have to get to? But in that same breath, Josh, right? If you're not doing that and you're going more balanced, that's kind of a problem too, because how good is a balanced lineup tonight? If you just use DraftKings pricing, me going to Wiggins so I can get away from another value play, but it means that I can't get 2 of the top tier guys, or me going to Tobias Harris, that doesn't feel much better either.
No, not at all. I can tell you right now, this is going to be truly insane. And honestly, I didn't even expect this. I have my FanDuel lineups loaded, 150. 91% of my lineups have 3 of those top 6 guys.
90%?
Yeah. 9%, 13 of my 150 have 2. I don't have any with just 1.
So what's your most popular combo with the 3?
I don't know.
And is it easier, Josh? Is it easier tonight to do that on FanDuel than DraftKings?
Well, it's always going to be easier on FanDuel because there's 9 roster spots instead of 8.
Right.
So like by default, like that's not going to be the same. It's not even going to be close. I would imagine on DraftKings, it's probably pretty close to impossible. If I just had to like go off the top of my head, you're clearly going to have to get the two of the lower rung guys. I don't know. I don't have 3-man combos or anything, so I couldn't tell you. I mean, I can give you a guess just based on like where my. So if Locke were in the next 2 seconds and I just had to upload my lineups and hope for the best, which honestly happens from time to time. I have more Curry than anyone else. Then Embiid, Durant, and Harden are all for the most part tied, like a step down. I'm pretty light on Kyrie. And as I mentioned on the earlier show, not that I like this, Nikola Jokic is the guy that I have the least of, and it's by quite a bit. So the most likely combos are Curry and probably 2 of Embiid, Durant, and Harden.
Okay. And yeah, I guess that makes sense. Just based on the pricing there.
Yeah.
You know what's worse than you drinking water out of a straw?
No?
Me having to drink out of these. Look at this. Like, how goofy does this look?
What? Why is it so little, man? Who the hell wants 2 ounces of water? Why are you doing water shots?
I've never heard before. Because it's 8 ounces. Because I ran out of
8 ounces. My ass. That's 8 ounces.
It is. It's shocking, right? I ran out of regular water, so these are the ones we give to my daughter uses. I jacked 3 of them for the show.
Okay, first of all, just because your daughter's 1 doesn't mean you have to get her little water bottles. It's not like she's grabbing one out of the bag and knocking it back. What are we doing here, man?
No, you send it. No, to send to daycare, just like
okay,
pour it into the bottle for the formula.
Got it. You know that makes way more sense than you just buying 1-year-old size water bottles for her like she uses them.
Right. No, that's not how it works. I can understand why it would seem like that. Like, oh, she's little, get her the littler water bottle.
Right. Yeah,
like she's not drinking.
Even hold that shit. No. You would never give her that. She poured all over herself.
I swear, when I looked at it, it's like it's probably 4 ounces. It's 8 ounces of agua.
That's what a waste of plastic. You heard it here first, everybody. Dave Loughran hates the planet.
Why is it a waste of? Okay, I guess the additional cap.
No, I mean, it's just like we should not be making the most plentiful source of stuff on the planet into very, very tiny amounts. Where does it end?
Dude, but 2 of these just equals 1 bottle anyway.
Yeah, agreed.
So no additional waste.
Is that true?
Out of the extra cap.
Yeah, that's a lot. Cap. That's a lot. Yeah, it's too many caps. I'm anti-cap, man.
But now all the caps are real time. Remember they used to have those like thick ass caps? Now it's just these tiny little caps. They're really making progress, dude.
You know what's not making progress?
Us.
Yep.
No, we're fine. Look, we have 40 minutes to go. I'm really interested in Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, whether or not you're willing to play these guys in the same lineups tonight. Are you making any rules where it's like, hey, maybe I don't want Embiid and Harden in the same lineups. I don't want, and when we do this show, I'm just letting you know right now, I think it makes more sense. If you disagree, let me know to look at this as an entire slate. Like we'll go by teams, but for 2 games, it's just way easier to break it down as a slate.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Okay.
The context of just talking about like one individual guy out of 4
help.
teams is useless.
It doesn't help. Do you think you're cool? Are you fine with having, and I'll get to all your questions. Goody, I saw your super chat. And Larry, I saw your question. You are a member here, so I always get you in on that. I think he is. But like, are you good with getting to a Harden and Embiid, or sorry, an Irving Durant lineup or a Harden and Embiid lineup? Is that cool with you?
Yeah, no issues whatsoever. On a 2-game slate, basically most rules get thrown completely out. It's more of a volume thing than anything else. Like, oh, I don't want 4 of the 5K bench guys from a particular team or something along those lines. But for right now, Durant and Irving I have 2 in 15% of my lineups, at least 1 in 56%, and neither Durant or Irving in a third of my lineups. So yeah, I have no problem having them both.
Goody,
same for Harden and Embiid.
Yeah, right. Because Embiid's price too, specifically on DraftKings, has come down. He was 12,000 last game.
Yeah. You know, there's no reason not to go to both of them.
And Harden's 10-4. mind you, this is strategic pricing by DraftKings for sure.
Yeah.
Like these guys they're not going to look like this next week. I don't see, or next game, right? There's no way.
No, agreed.
On a bigger slate, there's just no
Agreed.
way. We see them on short slates intentionally price guys down so you can actually make lineups. Harden 11-4. It makes sense that you could fit both of these guys in there pretty easily. So I'm with you there. I think I like the Embiid Harden combo a little bit more. And the only reason for that is both of these guys have insane upside, but they contribute in different ways. So Harden could give you the triple double with 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 15 assists, 5 of which go to Embiid, who's just killing it down low. And then you're in good shape. That isn't to say that Irving and Durant can't do the same thing, Josh, but at the same time, Irving's only $500 less than James Harden.
Yeah. I have, if we're just talking about those two guys individually, I have James Harden significantly higher than Kyrie Irving relative to salary too. I don't even think on DraftKings, I don't think that they're all that comparable.
No, me neither. Goody. Thanks, man. How is Goody not a member yet? He sends super chats all the time. Could save some money. I'll always answer your questions, man. You're one of our guys. Hey, great games tonight. Or hey, guys, great games tonight. Wondering, typical general settings in Fantasy Cruncher for 2 games. 1 player, 2 player, these are question marks. Randomness. I struggle with these 2 games. DK tournament. So hold on. Wondering typical general settings. I guess he assumes I guess he means unique players.
That's my guess.
Yeah, I'm assuming unique players. Yeah.
Yeah. There are no answers to these questions ever.
And don't you think it depends on how many lineups you're playing too? Like if I'm only playing a few lineups, I'd like to have more unique players to give myself a shot. And Alex always taught me that, like everybody, that he would say, like, one thing he likes to do is not try to compete against his own lineups. When you have a lot, it's not like you can avoid that entirely. But if you're playing 5 lineups, maybe the idea of having, a little bit more unique lineups next to each other, if you're only throwing 5 bullets out there.
Right. Like, and what you set your uniques at depends on what you want to set your randomness at. Are you going to 100% exposure caps? Are you going to individual player caps? Both of those decisions dictate your uniques and your randomness. So I wish that I had an answer here, but there isn't one. And I'm not saying this directed at you. I'm just saying it in general. This is one of the questions we get the most. Like, oh, should I set my randomness to 20 or 25%? Or like, what do you do for uniques? The answer always is a meaningless discussion point. You need to learn how to use Fantasy Cruncher before you do anything. Understand what happens when you generate lineups with 1 unique on, 2 uniques on, 3 uniques on, 100% randomness, 50% randomness. See what those outputs are. Get an idea of the kind of roster construction that you're trying to put together, and then find out what those settings do to get to that point. It's just a tool that's trying to maximize the score every time it creates a lineup. It doesn't know anything about like teams really or player names. It's just a number and a salary. And we need to remember that Fantasy Cruncher is just simply, or whatever optimizer you're using, but in this case, Fantasy Cruncher, whatever optimizer you're using is doing nothing more than just trying to create the highest score for the settings that you have. That doesn't necessarily mean that's the best lineup that you should be putting into a contest either.
So take the time, massage the settings, see what you come up with, and figure out what's best for you would be it. So I think that's as good an answer as anything.
Yeah. Cause like what I can do right now, I can recreate with like the opposite settings too. Like if I go to 1 unique and a lot of randomness and, individual player caps, I can do the same thing with 3 uniques and no randomness and 100% caps. It's all about knowing how those changes matter.
Absolutely. And then Larry said, on a 2-game slate, should you still do a 3 max per team or no limits on Fantasy Cruncher?
For me, no limits.
Okay. Really? I mean,
well, so on FanDuel, it's a little bit different because it's 4 max, I believe. And I think DraftKings is more than that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't play DraftKings enough.
What? How many you're allowed to play?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just, it has to be more than 2 teams.
Yeah. But I think on a 2-game slate, it's more interesting to look at it from a group's perspective than a hard line in the sand. Like, for example, like if you're ignoring Durant and Irving, I probably wouldn't want to line up with Seth Curry, Bruce Brown, Goran Dragic, and Patty Mills. You know, like
right.
I'd be max 2 or max 3 of something like that. But you know, if I get Durant, Irving, and then like the 2 bottom guy, like I take a run on Claxton and Dragic or something along those lines. Those guys' prices aren't going to stop me from anything if I'm getting to all 4. Durant and Irving can still go crazy, and Nick Claxton can pay off a $3,800 salary. It might not be the best example, but yeah, I would handle most of that with groups.
Yeah, I was going to say groups, but not full out maxing them on teams. Yeah, I get
There's
that.
no reason that one team can't have 4 guys in an optimal lineup today.
Yeah, sure. I don't see why not. And if you think about it, just looking at overall ownership, right? There's no doubt that if you're just crunching, you're going to get some teams with 4 Warriors in it at those
Unquestionably.
prices,
yep.
right? No doubt about it.
They've got 293% ownership in the aggregate to everybody on that team, which means that you're basically averaging 3 per lineup. 4 is happening clearly. Now, I think that's wrong, but that's neither here nor there.
Michael Perlman, thanks for the info, fellas. Thanks, man. Using that free 7-month super chat. Appreciate you, dude. The rest of Brooklyn, is there like, we like Kyrie Irving, we like Durant, we definitely, I personally like Durant a lot more than Irving. Their prices are just too close right now. Obviously positional availability makes a difference here, but not in the biggest of ways. Drummond is the one that interests me the most, because if Drummond comes in and gets the 24, 26 minutes, maybe even with Aldridge out, because he lost about a minute last game, maybe and isn't in foul trouble, and Embiid's not just brutalizing him, Drummond could, for sure be a guy that you want in your lineups today. On the other hand, Drummond has a very low floor in this matchup.
He's fascinating to me. I have a bunch of him. He's 9% owned on FanDuel the last time I grabbed ownership. He's 15 on DK. On DraftKings, he's an even better play because you can play more than one center. On FanDuel, it's a little bit different because you're limited to that one center spot. And if you're taking Drummond, it means you're making a lineup that doesn't have Jokic, it doesn't have Embiid. That gets a little bit trickier. I don't mind that stand. I think the upside is massive. I have him in at 24 minutes. He's a guy that I'm 3x the field on FanDuel. If we come in at 9, I think I'd be even bigger than that on DraftKings, because to me, the goal is to win a GPP. And when I look at these 4 teams, Andre Drummond as a 1.3 fantasy point per minute guy at low-ish ownership relative to the rest of this slate is the guy that can get that done, bar none. No one here is going to be surprised if he plays like 29 minutes and goes 20 and 14 or something. Like, what if he gets Embiid into foul trouble?
Unlikely, but anything's possible.
Well, I just mean, like, every extra minute that he's not playing with Embiid on the floor means that he's getting DeAndre Jordan on the opposite side of him,
Absolutely.
Or Paul Millsap or Niang. Like, he has an opportunity to put up a very big score that can win you a GPP. And there aren't a lot of guys in that range. Like, think about the guys that are priced around him. He and Aaron Gordon, like Aaron Gordon's 5,400. He's the guy underneath that. Those 2 guys have wildly different ceilings for today, because Aaron Gordon's not going to suddenly play like 40 minutes. But Andre Drummond can play 10 more minutes than we expect him to today. And that's a big thing. Jordan Poole, Bruce Brown, Tobias Harris, Klay Thompson. These are the guys that are on opposite ends of Andre Drummond. These are guys that playing time doesn't move around. Drummond has big time error bars today. I don't care if he plays like shit. I don't care if he plays 14 minutes today and I'm wrong. That's not really what matters. I want to play the guy that can give me that biggest ceiling. And I don't think the ownership is representing that right now.
And I will say, in the 7 games that he squared off against Embiid, and I made sure that all of these were, the Pistons as a starter getting like good minutes. Yeah. Still a 1.27 DraftKings points per minute.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Yes, Embiid has beat him up, but it doesn't like Cat, Embiid is taking Cat to task, but Cat still had some very big games with Embiid on the other side. So
absolutely.
It's not mutually exclusive. It's not like if Embiid has a good game, Drummond can't. Drummond just needs to stay out of foul trouble. And quite frankly, there aren't many good.
He doesn't even really need to stay out of foul trouble. That's the craziest part. At 5,700, I have his target score at 40 fantasy points for today on DK. 40. If he plays 24 minutes, just his normal sort of like run, we'll call it 23. We'll even be a little bit more pessimistic. If he plays 23 minutes, 1.7 fantasy points per minute. Like, obviously that's a ridiculous rate. It's well within the range when he's 1.35 fantasy points per minute. He doesn't even have, like, it doesn't even have to be crazy for him.
Yeah, you're right. What I don't want, though, is him getting into foul trouble early in the game and then coming back and catching that third foul in the early second quarter or something.
Same.
That's what I'm talking about. I don't care if he picks him up, after 8 minutes or 7 minutes or whatever, but
no. Like, obviously you don't want him to get in foul trouble, but you can deal with foul trouble on guys that are like huge per minute, dude.
Agreed. Yeah. Just don't Mitchell Robinson me. That's what I'm saying.
Don't get the poops 30 seconds in.
After 2 fouls.
Dude's going to be grabbing guacamole all over his face. He's going to fall into somebody in the stands like, oh no, I can't do it.
It's such a unique way to get out of a game if you're Robinson, though, right? Because it wasn't like, coach, take me out. Let me just foul twice in the first minute and 40 seconds.
Yeah. And look, we've all been in situations where it's like, yo, if I don't get to a toilet immediately.
Why are you assuming that's what it was?
I don't necessarily know that it was, but I mean, we've all been in emergency situations where it's just like, yo, today's not the day any longer. I thought I could, and then all of a sudden I can't.
Oh, yeah. I've had it happen during shows before where I've DM'd Jordan and been like, not sure I'm going to make it, pal. I'm not even kidding.
But I'm just like, oh, I think somebody's at the door.
That's a long conversation you had with the mailman, Josh.
Well, obviously I'm coming back and I'm not, I can skip 30 seconds of washing my hands. So that's fine.
Philly. I think with Embiid and Harden, we kind of got there. There's just not a whole lot to talk about. This matchup for Joel Embiid is spectacular. When we touch on Odd Shopper, I've got a spot that I do like for him today. There's not really much to say. Both him and Harden have unique skill sets. They can both get there in the same game. And they, on a 2-game slate, we don't need both of them to go for 80 necessarily either.
No, we do not. I'm team Embiid for today. I think he looks fantastic. One of my favorite plays of the day. I've got 63% Joel Embiid right now. He's 42% owned on FanDuel. I assume I would be in a similar range on DK, although since it's easier to get multiple centers, it might be a little bit more muted. But I have just as much Harden too. I'm happy to get to both. Harden shooting guard small forward on FanDuel 10-2, point guard shooting guard on DraftKings 10-4. I think both of those things work. And to me, they are very clearly the best plays that you can get from Philly. And I don't really think that anybody else is even in the ballpark.
Me neither. Michael Perlman, thanks for the super chat. So let's get it tonight. And we had another one from I'm Real Forever. Drummond might have learned Embiid's game practicing with him every day. Give him a little edge. Honestly, dude, and thanks for the super chat. You can't really learn to defend that is the problem. He's too agile for a big man. He's too strong. He's too smart. Like, I don't think it's like a catcher, playing with a pitcher and then, and then hitting against them,
They were teammates for 4 months.
Right. No, look, 4 months is a decent amount of time you watch him play, but these guys watch tape anyway, right? Like everything is on tape now. There's no, I don't see.
They've played each other a lot in the NBA.
Right. That's what I mean. There's no real
sort of. I mean, Drummond did try to not play a lot too.
They've only faced each other 7 times and they haven't faced each other since 2019.
There were a couple there where Drummond was just like, nah, I'm not active.
He Ben Simmons that.
He did. I don't blame him.
Did you see, dude, the new super chat feature where it pops up on the screen? It's pretty sweet. We got that with
Tyler sent me a $100 bill with my grin on it today.
Yeah.
I was just like, I don't know what this is, man.
It's good stuff. I love it.
We giving out Englebucks.
Yeah.
Dollarooskies.
Yeah. So Dollarooskies. You said you think Maxey is underowned. Do you still believe that from earlier in the show or earlier in the day?
So yes and no. He came out of my sim with ultra positive leverage. I don't have him though. So I want to be very clear about this. On FanDuel, he came out of my sim at 33%. We have him at 26% ownership. That would be a +7 in our leverage tool if my shit got posted on our website. On DraftKings, I got him at 26% coming out of the sim. We've got him owned at 12%. That would be +14 from a leverage perspective. I feel like it would be basically the same situation. So I like him on paper. He has become someone I'm fading.
Okay. It's expensive. And Tobias Harris, I know is your target score still 40 for him?
44 on DK.
Oh. You know, if the cool thing is if you combine all of the games he's played since James Harden came over, you pretty much get there.
Is that how I hope that's how it works?
Wouldn't that be great?
If only, man.
It's just
I got a lot of them today on FanDuel, but it's basically with the field. He's 38% owned. I have 38% Tobias Harris. This is a weird game. I have Harden, I have Embiid, I have Harris. I am under the field or non-existent on every other Philadelphia 76ers. So I am team studs today.
Harris is playing a lot of minutes, but the problem, and I mentioned it to you this morning, I think we're on the same page, at least to some extent here, is he's not someone that racks up a lot of stocks, right? You're not going to get a lot of blocks or steals from him. The assist game is completely out the window at this rate because he was already not a primary passer. Now he's a complete afterthought, and he's an okay rebounder. So if he's not scoring, what's he really doing? And usage is going to come down too. He's going to get some clean open looks with Harden, no doubt about that. But he's a 33% three-point shooter this year. That's also
not been a good year
great
for Tobias Harris, but he'll cry into a pile of money.
Yeah. Anybody else for Philly? Shake, Yang. If we got to go.
I thought that I was going to get to a little bit of Shake. I dialed him back a bit, but I'm under on Thibault. I have very little Maxey. I don't have any Niang. If I look at it from a DraftKings perspective, I mean, I'm still. I just don't see it. Like clearly, there's a shot to be taken on one of Thibault, Niang, or Milton. Like you're going to need to pay down somewhere. I'm just not like wildly enamored with any of these guys.
You know what's going to happen? DeAndre Jordan's going to play 12 minutes and have one of those crazy 4.14 rebounds in like 12 minutes. Obviously,
4 shots.
Yeah, obviously it's not going to not to that extent, but those guys always find ways to mess things up. But no, there's other value out there. I will say though, if Niang does get hot from the field, as we saw against Cleveland, you might get another 23, 24 minutes from him. It's not a certainty by any stretch, but this is a guy who's attempted, and I think it's significant for a site like this, 7, 8, and 8 threes over the last 3 games for a basically minimum salary player. If you knock down, let's say he goes 5 of 8 or 5 for 7, which he's done. He's gone 5 of 8, and then he went 4 for 7 last game. That can put you up in that 20, 25 fantasy point range, especially with the bonus on DraftKings. It's not crazy to think he could get you there at that salary.
No, the only thing that's crazier than that is the fact that we're not at 500 likes yet, only 366. I think everybody needs to hit that thumbs up.
So we need 133 likes with 1,800 people watching.
Yeah, that should be easy.
Should be. Show some love, fellas. You know?
Yeah.
Let's just sit here until we get it. No, I'm kidding. But you remember you used to do that, piss people off. You'd be like, we're not starting the show until we get this many likes.
Yeah,
or
it
you'd
works.
stop in the middle of a show.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to time the likes on the process show. They needed to be at 100 by 7:00 in the morning so that I would run crunches. I've been lax on that lately, but we still get over 100 every time. So I don't mind too much when they come in.
A little softer in your time, a little bit more understanding.
No, it's just like it wasn't getting there, and I didn't want to sit in silence at 6:00 in the morning.
Gabriel Anthony said the death stare just got so many likes. It's great stuff. We're at 480. We're going to cruise above 500. I have no doubt about that.
Yeah, you just got to speak that stuff into existence.
20 to go. Yeah, man. And subscribe. We have the subscribers that pop up now on the screen too. We got that going. Good stuff.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, I want to see your name up there. Golden State Warriors, Denver Nuggets. Talk about that. Before we do that, John, I did want to throw a couple things out that I like today. Compare them with Odd Shopper, which is totally free, completely free. One of the things that, like, whenever I'm talking about Odd Shopper and people go, people aren't saying it outright. They're not saying it, but people think it like, is it worth you working it into my process and this and that? one of the best reasons I could give you is that the sorting by expected ROI and expected win rate and the parlay builder and all that stuff is awesome, but just the ability to really save on some of these bets. So I was doing my show today, and I'm like, okay, I like this Steph Curry over 6.5 assists, but it's minus 130 on DraftKings. So I go over to Odds Shopper, and they give you all the other books that it's at, minus 110 on FanDuel. For a prop to be able to save that's significant in the long term, man. It really is. We talked about it at the top of this show, and you'll find that all the time where certain, especially with props, are just way different from book to book. And Curry's over prop on the assist was a perfect example of that.
Yeah, it's essential to shop around when you're trying to do sports betting, and Odds Shopper makes that so simple. But like, even if you can get every game at minus 109 instead of minus 110, that's a gigantic, if you're betting a lot, that's gigantic over the course of a year, over the course of everything that you're doing. You just want to lock in the best line that you could possibly find. This lays it all out for you. It doesn't really get much better than that.
It really doesn't.
By the way, I've got Curry at 7.2.
Okay. You got him over. Look, no, Draymond Green's been out. Having Klay Thompson definitely helps. I also like the idea, and I know a lot of you guys love parlaying, especially on the DFS channel, right? Because everyone's trying to win tournaments, and it's more fun to parlay stuff. Same game parlays can be tricky because you don't really know what the odds are on stuff. But today you don't have much of a choice unless you're looking to just do a 2-player parlay or a multi-sport parlay. But I like the idea of going Klay Thompson over 17.5 points and then parlay that with Curry over assists.
Yeah.
Because
they correlate.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, 40% of Klay's assisted field goals have been from Curry, which is nice. And Klay played a season high 34 minutes last game. So there's a lot to like there for sure. And we have Klay Thompson. I always like to compare my props against Odds Shopper. We have Klay Thompson right now at 19.3 points on a 17.5 point prop. There's no juice on the over really at all. So it's a spot that I like quite a bit.
I've got him at 18.5, so I'm a little bit lighter, still over that mark. And he is one of like the 3 most exposed guys that I have. So I'm certainly rooting for it too.
No question. And he's not shooting well right now, but there's no way that Klay continues to shoot this poorly. It's not going to continue.
No.
Check it out. Not. No, it won't. Oddshopper.com. Jordan's got it up on the screen. It's so sweet. And Jordan, if you show him too, where you can click on the actual prop, that's where the other books will come up. If you didn't do that already, like you can compare it against other books instead of just seeing the best bet. You can see what value you're getting. Golden State Warriors, Josh, the ownership going here is insane. Like the aggregate ownership to the Warriors is for a 2-game slate. One of the wildest things I've seen, because you go down the entire list, 45, 42, 40, 39, 38, 36, 32, the same team.
I don't get it. I don't like it. I'm way, way, way lighter out of my sim on these Warriors guys on DraftKings. Like in a way I get it, but I mean, how much do you really want a third of your lineups to have Bjelica and Kevon Looney and like Kuminga and Moses Moody? Like it feels like a lot. It feels like a lot. There are guys I like I like Kuminga more than I like Looney and Bjelica. Power forward eligible, 4,300, just easier to roster. I think the ownership on Moses Moody at 3,500 is the most warranted. Clearly, you're putting him in a cash game. Shooting guard, small forward eligible, so you also get guard, forward, and utility. That price tag just works. You're looking for like 28 fantasy points out of Moody in that one. I think the ownership on Jordan Poole makes a ton of sense. Played over 28 minutes, I believe, in the last time. I'm just going off the top of my head now. It's been a long day, but 5,200 works. I have a ton of Klay at 5,700 on FanDuel. I don't think it's all that crazy to go there at 6,600 on DK. The only guy that I don't think should be getting all that much ownership is the guy that isn't, and that's Andrew Wiggins, 19% owned on DK at 7K. Came out of my sim at 15%. He would be the guy that I would be light on, and I think that's totally reasonable. So I assume Andrew Wiggins is the guy that plays well today.
So just checking to see if we were getting any news. Someone asked, do you think we get any late breaking news on the big players? There's no real reason to believe that. Someone earlier was like, maybe Malone, just to throw it back in Nash's face or in Kerr's face, for what he did the other day, for sitting all his guys, like is going to sit Jokic, but that doesn't help him.
No, why the hell why would that happen?
You're not like, hey, I showed you by losing in front of my home crowd. Nah.
Yeah. Now, if you ask that question, you should email FanDuel or DraftKings and tell them to take you out of all your contests.
Josh will not sugarcoat things, fellas, and know that.
I mean, that's just a preposterous thought that Mike Malone's going to try to spite Steve Kerr by sitting Nikola Jokic. Holy shit. What does he want to lose by 40? Yeah, man, Kerr would be bummed.
I can't imagine like the owners and GMs would feel great about that either. Like, so Michael, what was
I'd fire Mike Malone on the spot if he said that out loud and meant it.
So what was the thought process? I just wanted to get back at Steve. Like by losing by 100 at home.
Yeah. He should buy Steve Kerr like 5 beers for that. Yeah, for sitting all of his dudes. I mean, what are we talking about here?
Right. 561 likes too.
Oh my God, yeah, we're great. So when are we going to get to like 650? I
feel like 700's in play. Greedy?
I feel like 1,891 are in play.
Yeah, that's what it should be.
Lazy shits. Half of you guys won't even hit the damn button.
If you were to rank though all of these Golden State guys, how are you doing it? And where does Curry come in if you're ranking him? Because he's still pulling about, but it's going to be owned by like a third of the field. But compared to a lot of like Jokic, compared to Embiid, compared to Harden, he's below all of them. I'll be honest though, Josh, even though Curry's price has come down, it's still basically right around Harden and a bunch of these other guys. 33% still seems like a lot, even on a 2-game slate.
Well, it's not as much as I have on FanDuel at 9,100.
I know you said that.
79% Steph Curry, and that's not even the most of someone on the Warriors.
79%.
So let's get this out of the way. FanDuel, I've got 79% Curry, 89% Clay, 49% Looney. Those 3 guys are just in basically everything. I don't have much else from Golden State. If we're looking at it from a DraftKings perspective, I have, to me, 4 priorities: Curry, Poole, Moody, Kuminga.
Okay. And to be fair, Curry is 1,100 less than Harden on FanDuel. The pricing's definitely different there.
Yeah, it's dramatically different.
Like 1,700 less than Embiid. What is he? 2,300 less than Jokic. So that price is definitely. Oh, and he's $600 less than Irving on FanDuel too.
Yeah, so it's totally very different on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I have him ahead. Like Irving would be last for me. He's last in ownership by a lot. I think that Steph looks comparable to Harden, but I think actually Harden's underrepresented in DK ownership.
With Denver, you've got Nikola Jokic, who's the man here. Just monster game after monster game. Hold on, did we get? Oh, okay.
630 likes.
Yeah, I was looking at if we had any news here. Oh yeah, we're getting the 700, no question. But okay. Why don't I do this, Josh? Why don't I do this? We hit this breaks of God read, and then we're gonna have a good like 9 minutes to wrap this up and make it happen. So, fantasy sports fans, what if you caught a break? And Josh talked about it this morning. He does this stuff with the potential to net a couple $100,000 with less than $100 investment. Well, we got great news because breaksofgod.com is the place to catch that break. Breaks of God is the latest sports card collecting trend to catch fire in America. It's how sports card collectors of all ages are building high value card collections without a huge investments or risk, because it's quickly become a popular and economical way for sports fans to get potentially high value or rare cards without having to buy a $1,500 box or case for themselves. You got football, baseball, everything in between, and you got these slot options available for under $100. As Josh pointed out this morning, a slot option is just you get randomly assigned like a division. Can it be a team as well, or is it? Josh,
it can be anything. So like sometimes it's fully random. Sometimes it's individual players. You can go teams, divisions. It can just be. It can be just about anything. Like it's whatever they set the terms for on that particular break.
Okay, got it. So you got all of that. And you can increase your odds of getting big money premium cards for a fraction of the cost of expensive, hard to get boxes. All the cards are broken from sealed premium boxes live on Instagram, and the cards are shipped directly to you for free when the live break is over. Slots are limited though, so act fast. And when you do it, I'm doing this too, where Josh and I are going to do one next week.
Oh yeah.
Use the it's not a promo code. Go to breaksofgod.com/A30, A like Awesemo, A30, breaksofgod/A30, get 30% off your first break. So can you do different priced breaks? I'm assuming you can, right? Like, can you do an expensive one, a cheaper one?
Yeah, I'm sure they have price tiers and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure because 30% off is significant.
Yeah, so much of it depends on like the cost of the case, how the break is being done. Like when you do divisions, there's 6 slots. If you do teams, then the cost of your break, like you're only getting 1/30th. You can change it up big time there. Your odds of getting anything are a lot lower if you only get a team, but
sure,
maybe you get lucky, you get Charlotte, and you're popping a box trying to get a LaMelo rookie or something.
It's fun stuff. Breaksofgod.com/A30, 30% off, and follow him at Breaks of God over there on Instagram.
Good.
Breaks of God.
Good.
Denver. We got whenever I do with Adam, he just sits there, but he knows it's coming. Josh, yeah, a little reciprocation here. I like that.
Oh, you mean I participate in the show when I'm not talking? Adam's like Russell Westbrook in a show. He's terrible at it in general, but people think he's good. And then when he's not involved in the speaking, he doesn't even participate.
Not at all. His analysis is excellent, right? And he'll just go on.
He's like a triple double, man. And it's wildly overrated.
Oh man, why the hate for your boy Ship My Money?
Because I know 1, he's not listening. 2,
nope.
I hear it from him because I do listen.
Right, it's true. The amount of time, like I know a good way to host shows. Just a good way of communication is to use somebody's name when you're speaking, right? Makes them feel engaged, makes them feel important, right, Josh? And with Adam, I don't do it for that reason. I do it to make sure he's listening.
Yeah, you're bringing him back in.
Yeah,
it's like a leash.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Nikola Jokic is a guy that you said you will have less of today. How much of that is just because a lot of these other top tier guys are priced down, but they're also in good spots?
Well, on DraftKings, it's a little bit easier to get more Jokic because you can play more than one center. On FanDuel, it's tricky because you can't. And just in general, I think it's more efficient and easier to get to Joel Embiid. So I am. And the real big piece for me is that I'm taking that shot on Andre Drummond. And that's sort of where I'm opting out of Jokic for Drummond. So on the off chance,
okay,
like that's sort of the decision point that I'm making. And I think that probably, like more often than not, it's going to feel awful because Jokic is just clearly really good, 1.7 plus fantasy points per minute. But I think I'm more likely to win a tournament today having Andre Drummond than I am Nikola Jokic.
Do you have all of these questionable players in from Green to Barton, to Bones Highland?
I do. And Will Barton's in 88% of my lineups right now. So late swaps will be fun.
What do you late swap? What are the late swap options here if you have Barton?
Well, he's shooting guard, small forward. So one out of the gate, it just sort of depends on what my lineup construction is. Anytime that he's in the shooting guard spot, I can. Wow, why is Bones Highland only a point guard? So dumb. Anyway, I can swap Will Barton to Austin Rivers in this same game if I need to. In theory, I could swap him to Bryn Forbes if I wanted to just go drop down. But he's 4,900, so I can get to Moses Moody at 4,300 on FanDuel if I need to.
Okay.
If it's small forward, there's probably going to be a ton of lineups where I can make him turn into Kuminga if it's totally necessary. Jeff Green, it's not the best idea in the world, but there are enough options. And clearly, I have more than just Will Barton in these lineups. There's going to be, 3-4 Warriors or Nuggets and everything. So it's just going to have to move around. It's not going to look great. There's not like a 1-to-1 on FanDuel today for me, but I don't know what else to do.
But I'm just saying it's not going to kill you though. Like
no.
It's tough with the short slates, but having that multi-position eligibility on FanDuel makes a big difference now when you're dealing with something like this. You remember remember how shallow those positions would be on a 2-game, 3-game slate sometimes? You know,
there were times where it would just be literally impossible.
Yeah.
Like you actually didn't have a choice.
Right. Oh,
there wasn't going to be a guy at that position that played.
Like you were playing, and if it was Kyle Singler or something.
Yeah. It was hard. It was really hard.
Did you see Tony Snell's stat line last night?
No, but let me guess. He didn't do anything.
So I think Jordan's probably most liked tweet ever is actually a Tony Snell graphic. Am I right?
I would have assumed it was something that he tagged me in.
And it was like zeros across the board. He played more than 30 minutes. He had 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 blocks, 1 steal. Amazing.
That dude's good.
And he still, or maybe he had 2 rebounds. That's what Marco said, but it was bad.
Not too bad.
All right. So we got 3 minutes to go. This is how you do an hour for a 2-gamer, Josh.
Well, yeah. You skip talking about 2 teams.
How?
I mean, we got to Golden State, Denver at like 6:15.
I know, but I think Brooklyn.
It's hard to talk about Denver, man.
Yeah, Brooklyn and Philly is just kind of a unique situation tonight, I think.
Yeah. I'm playing a ton of Aaron Gordon. I'm playing a ton of Will Barton. They're 2 of my 3 most exposed guys. If Will Barton isn't in, a lot of things are going to change.
So the game's got a 228.5 total, 2-point spread. Both of these look like they should be competitive, pretty high scoring contest. Is there any other value for Denver that's viable? Let's just pull Barton and Green off the floor for a second. Let's just say they're off. Okay.
Unfortunately, the answer is Bones Highland.
And that's if he plays.
Right.
Isn't he questionable too?
I think so.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. He's questionable.
Aaron Gordon's probable.
Gordon's probable. Green is questionable with a personal issue, so you never know there. Yeah. Barton with the ankle. And mind you, they're on the second of a back-to-back too. And would you say 4 and 5 days as well?
Correct.
It's a 4 and 5. So like Austin Rivers started and played 32 minutes yesterday, but he is such a dreadful per minute producer.
Yeah, he is. I mean, like I like Bones if he can play. If Jeff Green's out, like Jermichael Green becomes a little bit more interesting. I actually like Jeff Green if he's in. I don't get the sense that he's going to get a ton of ownership because of the status, but 4K. And like, again, like is relative, but if we're looking for value and Nemanja Bjelica is going to be 40% owned, then take a run at someone like Jeff Green. Like that's just, if you're trying to win with the least amount of dupes today, there are a couple guys out there in the low 4K, high 3K range that are just getting overlooked today for reasons that I can't totally figure out.
Caleb said, LOL, Lavi just wanted to talk about Philly. You had Eytan for that for 30 minutes before this show. Yeah. So do you use the LMAO? I think that was
not once in my life.
Me neither. Never want. Jordan does. Jordan's a big like LMAO.
Your daughter?
No, Jordan Clark. Yeah, yes, my daughter is my 1-year-old.
Well, I mean, she's drinking out of water bottles. Yeah. Great callback.
That's solid, right? I never use it. It's odd. It's not odd. It's just I think it was a little bit past us.
Yeah,
LOL was my thing.
Yeah, same. I've never been like an acronym guy in general outside of LOL.
I use them, nothing crazy, but like IMO, TBH. I use that stuff. Make my life.
Never once.
Really?
No.
Interesting. All right. LMFAO is Jordan's. I think he goes all out.
I miss that group, man.
I don't.
Well, you're not sexy like I am because I'm sexy and I know it.
Is that what they did? That song?
I think that's them.
Look at that tie-in right there. All right. Well, Jackoff says, and that's the best name ever, by the way. JAKCOU.
Yeah, love when that pops up on the screen.
Solid. Lavi, chug that thing like Embiid did at the presser. Yeah, that Embiid, that was hilarious.
Harden's just like,
yeah. And Embiid looks at him and goes, "It's good."
Yeah. Harden just dies laughing.
I love it. No, Josh, my daughter's Jordyn, not A-N.
Yordan.
That was the best. When I said her name's Jordan with a Y, and people are like, wait, you named her Jordan? Hey, man, anything else you got before we toss this over to Greg and Eric?
No.
It's been a fun day. We got 2 shows in. You're with me tomorrow morning, too, on the strategy show?
I have learned that, yes. And now I'm not doing a piece of content tomorrow that I thought I was doing. I've got called up to the bigs for something slightly better. So keep your eyes peeled for that tomorrow.
Oh, that's going to be fun. Why don't you just say what it is so people know?
Okay. Yeah, I'm doing Neil's show tomorrow at noon.
And that Neil's killed it, man. I'm telling you.
They're good.
This guy's a natural. I talked to him this afternoon. I was like, yo, you're killing it on that show. He interviews DFS players from across the industry, all of them. Somebody dropped out, and Josh was very excited to fill in, and it'll be a great show. So check that out.
I would have done it today if we didn't have the deeper dive. I was dead after the gym. I wouldn't have been a good guest. So yeah, man. Tomorrow will be fun.
Yep. It's going to be fun. So check it out. It'll drop here. We got it in podcast form as well. Appreciate all you. 710 likes on a 2-gamer.
Who's the best in the biz, man?
You guys are the best. We'll see you back here. Thanks as always for watching. And if I didn't say so yet, check out our new Discord premium betting package, which on discounted for $15.95 right now. It's good stuff. Getting all of the top bets from Alex and Steve Buzzard and Ben Rasa. An ROI tracker that Alex built for you guys. A lot of great stuff. Check it out. Use the promo code. What's the promo code, Josh?
I don't know. Show me your boobs or something.
Let me see them. Let me see those pics. Hold on. Let me see.
That's Jordan, why it's not good.
Let me see those pics. Come on. You're the producer. Help me out. I mean, I should know this.
Come on, produce the show, Jordan.
Let me see those pics. All one word. And then the letter of first letter of every word has to be capital. No, would that be ridiculous?
No, they are case sensitive, aren't they?
If it's case sensitive and every letter to start every word, but it's all one word is caps, that would be insane.
I feel like they were case sensitive for a bit. I don't know if they still are, if I'm remembering that correctly.
Yeah,
but I'm almost positive
caps,
they were.
Right?
Yeah.
But check it out. You can identify the best potential ROI situations. They provide catered snapshot betting analysis in an actionable time frame. You can do it up until the 17th of March. Use the promo code. Let me see those picks and check out. You get
APKS says it perfectly. It should just be picks.
Yeah, picks. Just picks. PICKS. Nothing crazy. No PIX. Right? No PIC. Whatever.
PICKZ. That'd be some shit we do too.
Yeah. For $15, it's the time to get premium betting picks right now for March Madness coming up. Click that link below, or we might have one that can go in chat as well. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow. Peace.
an old classic. Yeah. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the NBA Live Before Lock show presented by OddsShopper, a lovely place that you can go find your bets in 30 seconds or less. Simple as that. One of the best things you can possibly do to increase your ROI in sports betting in DFS. I'm Eric Lindquist, excited to be talking this 2-game slate we have in the association. It'll be simple to watch every game going on tonight because there's literally back-to-back 2 of them. So looking forward to that. But the guy I'm going to be hanging out with, the currently hiccuped, I'm very nervous for you. At Ehrenberg DFS. How's Greg Ehrenberg doing over there?
There's nothing worse than knowing that I have a 90-minute show upcoming and I've been hiccuping for the last 20 minutes. And like, it's going to go away, right? Like it has to cooperate. And then as you're sitting here introing me, I'm sitting here hiccuping like, great. The audience is just going to think I'm like Adam, like I was drinking before the show started or something. But meanwhile, I was just sitting here working all day, not doing anything exciting. And now I've got the hiccups.
I was stalling because I was watching you for 1 second. I was like, is he going to be okay? Okay. Oh, yeah, I'll talk about OddsShopper at the get-go.
Yeah, whatever.
It seems like an okay thing to do. They added NHL. They added college basketball. You should check out both of those. We're going to be covering the NBA here tonight, but it actually applies. It's a 2-game slate, but I always ask you this question, Greg. What piece of news are you waiting on that's going to dictate what you do with your lineups the most?
It's so hard to say because the only real news we have is with Denver here. We've got Will Barton questionable, Bones Holland questionable, Jeff Green questionable, but we're not going to get this news when the first game starts. So it can't even really impact our lineups that much. So it's a really tricky slate, as is, 2 games, not necessarily my favorite kind of NBA DFS slates. And then we've also got 3 core players questionable in the late game. This slate kind of sucks if we're being honest.
It doesn't suck. It's going to be too entertaining. Okay, it's not the greatest slate I've ever seen in my entire life, but I got to do Adam's tournament plays today. Yay. Go watch those. Give those a like. DraftKings FanDuel. I'm going to be doing them tomorrow on a regular person slate. So that'll be enjoyable. But as the years have gone by, Ryan's kind of taught me, Rinpack, for those who don't know him as Ryan, one of the best players in the industry. He just masters these 2 and 3 game slates because he's willing to go off the board and go massively overweight the things that other people are simply not willing to do. I think Will Barton is the guy that just kind of glaringly shows. And I think site to site, it's going to be a different difficulty trying to figure out what to do with him from a late swap perspective, because on DraftKings, shooting guard only. So you can't even play him at a forward spot. And your pivot down, you're going to be leaving money on the table going either direction there. On FanDuel, he's 4,900. I think both small forward and shooting guard, you have a way to pivot off of him there. But I mean, that's for me just kind of the one piece of news. If we get it before lock, so be it. That would be awesome. But there's an opportunity cost to rostering him if we do not have that news here on Denver, which I'm assuming we won't by the time this Philadelphia and Brooklyn game tees off. So anything else you want to talk about just from the injury status before we get position by position?
I mean, there's nobody else questionable, so there's no other injury news to wait on other than Denver.
Well, you know what I mean. I was just saying if there was anything else you wanted to talk about, just trying to throw it out there early.
What'd you have for lunch?
What did I have? I had lettuce cups, chicken lettuce cups.
Wow. Okay, there we go. All right. We can talk about
the little arugula on the top. Yeah, here we go. Position by position. Let's jump over to the guard spot, everybody. Hit that like button, too. Those guys, they crushed getting the like button on a 2-game slate. I would like to carry the torch into this show, have it equally as smashed. That's a weird way of putting that. I apologize. Let's talk about James Harden in the context of this slate, Kyrie Irving in the context of this slate, Steph Curry in the context of this slate. All 3 of them seem to be phenomenal options, but there's an opportunity cost with Jokic, Embiid, Durant, other positions that we're going there. So we can kind of lump everybody together here when we're talking about priorities, but how do James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Steph Curry grade out for you in terms of priority at the guard spot on DraftKings and FanDuel?
Yeah, so I guess we might as well talk about DraftKings and FanDuel individually. By the way, also, I made lineups for the showdown slates today, so if you guys have questions about that, we can hit on that as well. I'm going to be playing a little bit more showdown today just because, 2-game slate and there's some wonky injury stuff. This might not surprise you, Eric. My favorite pay-up option on the slate is Nikola Jokic, which does somewhat limit the amount of exposure that I'm going to be getting to some of the pay-up guards. But the one that I am prioritizing, and this is going to be on both FanDuel and DraftKings, is James Harden, who has played a pretty solid role with the Philadelphia 76ers and is playing much better than what he did during his tail end of his run with the Nets. The floor for him so far during his time with Philadelphia is 47 fantasy points, and he's priced down quite a bit. He's 10,400 over on DraftKings, On FanDuel, James Harden is 10,200. For whatever reason, he's still small forward eligible on FanDuel. He's basically exclusively playing point guard for the Philadelphia 76ers. And FanDuel's like, cool, small forward, go deal with it. But either way, he's playing really well on this team. We've seen the usage has been there for him. The assist rate has been really high. Now it's just a question of the efficiency. Last game, his overall production, it was his worst game with the Philadelphia 76ers with 47.5 DraftKings points. But he only shot 5 of 15 from the field. I would expect that to come up. So I have him on a different tier than Steph Curry, different tier than Kyrie Irving. I have him projected quite a bit fantasy points higher. Do you see it the same way, or is there a different guy on here?
No, Jokic is the priority spend up on the tournament plays video. That was kind of the comparison I had. People figuring out what to do at the center spot. I think Andre Drummond's interesting for me on DraftKings, where you can roster two, but I'm not willing to part with one of Jokic or Embiid over there on FanDuel. And that's kind of my lean, is just going to a lot of Jokic. I expected there to be a little bit more of a gap. I will say it's pretty ridiculous when you see James Harden and Joel Embiid on the floor together on the season. 127 minutes in this small sample size in a 5-game sample, 2.34 FanDuel points per minute for Joel Embiid. That is what you call not sustainable. Plus, there's going to be opportunities Embiid's on the floor where Harden isn't. I think in the long run, we're going to see that come back to around that 1.67, 1.7 range that he's been on the entire season here. He's been phenomenal, no doubt about it. But, Will Barton waiting as well. Nikola Jokic has over a 600-minute sample where he's around north of a 1.9 DraftKings points per minute producer. I just think that in the long run, if you read a lot into the small sample size for Embiid, you could probably lean that direction, but I don't. I'm with you. I think Jokic is clearly the guy that I want to get to. Plus, I don't think it's super cost prohibitive, more than what I was expecting. They're over on FanDuel, $800 difference. There's no triple-double bonus, so you got to compare him to, Jokic and Embiid together over there, and then James Harden in the context of it. But for me, I'm with you. I think Jokic is the priority. And at guard, it just becomes, how many lineups are you making? If you get to a lot of James Harden on DraftKings, can't really blame you. 41%. He's a guy that I've been massively overweight to, but on this slate, I'm just jamming a lot more of the centers. So I'm siding kind of with your thinking there. If you had to go 1, 2, 3 on DraftKings specifically, I know people play a little bit more over there. Can you rank your order of Harden, Kyrie, and Steph for me?
Yeah, let me look. I'll do it on DraftKings, and I'll do it for FanDuel, and I'll just look at it right now by the exposure I have. So on DraftKings, number 1 is Harden, 2 is Curry, 3 is Kyrie. Over on, by the way, you are getting destroyed for your lunch.
I was going to say, I didn't know what was going on. Lettuce cups do you know what a lettuce cup is? It's just a lettuce cup. You put chicken in the middle of it, and then there's like cheese, arugula. You put hot sauce on it. I put tapatio on it. It's delicious. Cholula, if you would like.
Yeah, I'd prefer not to have it.
Okay,
on
cool.
FanDuel, once again, Harden 1, Kyrie. Wait, where do I have? Oh, right, because Harden's a small forward, so that's why I have to sort it differently over here.
Why is Jordan Klein so enthusiastic today? What's going on with Jordan Klein down there? Are you okay?
He has to listen to us talk about a boring 2-game slate that he's probably already listened to get talked about for 5 hours today.
Oh, we could play a Jordan Klein drinking game. Bro, chill, dude. Bro, chill, dude.
What's
how many times bro, chill, dude?
But wait, Jordan, am I right, Jordan? You've already heard people talk about every angle possible on this slate. Yeah.
Okay, that's what it is.
Explain the drinking game.
I don't know. Just dude, bro, chill. Every time that he interjects and says bro, dude, like, or chill. Those are the 4 things. Every time he interjects, because there's no way that he's not going to have producer Cam in the next however many minutes we have left of this show. 70 minutes, 72 minutes. He's going to absolutely do it. So drink when that happens.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like a legal liability if you're going to have those words as the drinking games. Like, I don't even know that Jordan has that many more words in his vocabulary.
Yeah, remember that time I went to a coma on the Lie Before Lock show? Yeah, that was fun.
So Jordan, how many words do you know? 7?
Dude, bro, like, chill.
Dude, bro,
and
chill. Dude, bro, chill.
Dude, bro, chill. Dude, bro, chill. I apologize. It's true, though. It's beautiful because it's true.
Jordan, when's your birthday?
October 19th.
Why'd you have to think so much? I'm the 19th, too. Red 19. Let's go to Vegas, September.
All right, I'll get him a thesaurus. FanDuel. Now that I was able to sort it, number 1 is James Harden, 2 is Steph Curry, 3 is Kyrie Irving. I also have that in tiers. So I have Harden way above the other 2. Then it's Steph Curry, then Kyrie. And I view both Kyrie and Curry as being quite a bit overowned on FanDuel.
All right. Well, then the next tier of guys, we've got Klay Thompson, Tyrese Maxey, Jordan Poole, Will Barton. Obviously, Will Barton, the under-owned guy of the grouping. On FanDuel, that is a big deal because he's 4,900 over there. Even on DK, I'm pretty interested in trying to make way for 5,900, even though he's on an absolute island at that number. This next tier of guys, Greg, who are you landing on the most in lineups?
So what's the exact price range?
Yeah, so we've got the next group of guys. So you had tier 1 being Harden, Kyrie, Steph Curry, then tier 2 being Maxey, Thompson, Barton, Poole.
All right, so Maxey, Thompson. Well, so Barton's a really tricky one because he's questionable, which is going to introduce a couple of different, and also he's sucked for a long time now. So there's a few, even the game where everybody was out for Denver, he still managed to shit the bed in that game. So we've seen, relative to this 5,900 price tag on DK, one good game for Will Barton over the last month where he scored 44 fantasy points in a game where he shot 11 of 17 from the field. Other than that, he's just been straight bad. But on the same time, it's a 2-game slate, and I don't think anybody's going to roster him. So I don't have him projected well points per dollar. I have him for 25 fantasy points on DraftKings today. But I almost think the ownership is going to make him appealing. We have him projected for 9% ownership right now. But I think that number could be lower. Are people really going to be, rushing to click on Will Barton and get them into their lineups when he doesn't have the green check mark next to him? I don't think so. And especially now when he has the questionable tag. So I think this is one of those situations. I wouldn't be surprised if we have like sub 5% owned Will Barton by the time the slate locks. I don't usually like to play NBA DFS this way, but I just think he's going to go really under-owned relative to his chance of success because nobody's going to want to play him because he's questionable.
Boom bust tool flat out shows it. 18.5% leverage. He's got an optimal appearance rate if he plays in this game of 49.5%. So if he plays 50-50 chance that he is showing up in the optimal lineup on FanDuel. On DraftKings, 23% optimal percentage. So it's a little bit riskier over there simply because, obviously you're leaving more of that salary on the table. Shooting guard only, can only play him in 3 roster spots. There's not as much swappability with him, but I still think on a 2-game slate, if you're looking for any kind of leverage here, play Will Barton. Just put him into more lineups than you would think, even at 5,900. I'm with you. I think that he's a guy that you just need to have as a clear priority on it. Jordan Poole as well, I will say, is a guy that I thought would probably garner a little bit less attention than everybody else. That seems to not be the case anymore, the way that it was earlier in the day. Now it looks to be Klay Thompson as a guy that you can really rely on FanDuel to get that positive leverage there. 67.7% optimal percentage for him there. I mean, we just have an interesting case on this slate where you're landing in that mid-range and Will Barton going to be the under-owned guy, but Klay Thompson, if you can find paths to get to him with multiple roster spots over on FanDuel, that's going to be a guy that I'll get off of some of my Barton shares and just massively overweight to your guy Klay. And we'll talk about Andrew Wiggins, who definitely worked out. Both Klay and Wiggins worked out on that slate that we liked them the other night. So hopefully we can find some value there as well. Let's go down here to the bottom. I mean, it's a 2-game slate. So
it was a really important super chat, by the way. Really, really important.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So at the very bottom of the
No. Somebody paid good hard-earned money to compliment you.
I really like Eric's outfit and hair. I love that he just goes for it. It's a t-shirt, and I took a shower. JD, my dude. Oh, that's much appreciated. Well, I'm a professional, JD. I just thought, I assumed it was massive troll. Now Greg's thrown off because he's like, oh, he's actually being serious because I'm shaved. I look like
no. I told you it was a very high priority message that you should read. And
JD, former military, I believe, as well. Salute, JD. Absolutely the man over here. We love him here at Awesemo.
He loves you too.
I appreciate. He loves my hair as well. And you know what? I will take it. Really nice outfit. I go for it. Solid blues. Let's talk about some of these cheapies here at the bottom end, my friend. We've got nobody that's really garnering much attention aside from the Moses Moody dart at 3,500, which I get it. He's been really good the last 2 games, 36 and 30 minutes. Hard to find that kind of a minutes allotment. I think I'm going to try to make my way to a lot of Bones Highland here in this spot. That just kind of feels like the play for me now. Obviously, it's not comfortable. It's going to be less minutes, but you're getting literally less than half of the ownership to go his direction, $200 more, salary pretty negligible. I think I can get there pretty easily. He's kind of the cheapie I'm landing on the most. Is there somebody at the bottom, sub 4K on DraftKings, that you're going overweight to?
You better not lag out and make me talk about a 2-game slate for an hour by myself, because it got a little dicey there. You were going robot voice. For me, here's my totally off the board. I don't mind Bones Highland. I have Shake Milton projected fairly similarly to Bones Highland, and he's also only 3K. The level of confidence in him is very low, but here's what I do like about Shake Milton. And I do think there's a number of guys in this cheap price range that are at least worth getting to. The best one on a points per dollar basis for me is Goran Dragic. He's also going to be fairly popular, but I don't mind getting to Goran Dragic either. But as long as if we're talking contrarian, Shake Milton's a guy who is not afraid to shoot when he comes out on the court. I know he only had a 3.2% usage rate last game, but there's been times where we've seen him, like last year in the playoffs. He came into a game for the Philadelphia 76ers where they were struggling and basically won a game for them against the Hawks, stole it just by getting hot from the field in one playoff game. And his minutes prior to last game, he'd played 20 plus minutes in 3 consecutive games. So I think there's a little bit of playing time upside for Shake Milton. And in addition to that, just people aren't playing him, and he's the flat minute 3K. So for a 2-game slate, I do think the strategies become much different than, say, like a 9 or a 10-game slate, especially when we have Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, James Harden, Steph Curry. There's so many guys to pay up for. And it's not crazy to think Shake Milton could score like 10 fantasy points and land in an optimal lineup, not just because of anything he did, but because of the upside that we see in players like Jokic. Maybe Jokic goes out and scores 70 fantasy points. Embiid scores 65. You need to have both of them in a DraftKings lineup. And one of the only ways to make that possible is you need to start to look for min-price guys to play. And I think Milton's the one that makes the most sense for me in that scenario.
Anything else you want to touch on here at guard before we move ourselves to forward?
Yeah, so Goran Dragic, because we haven't really talked about him too much. His minutes have been on the rise a little bit for the Nets as of late. Last game ended up playing 28 minutes, and that was in a game that there was both Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant active. So I think points per dollar, Goran Dragic is the best overall value play to look at on DraftKings. At the same time, he's kind of owned about appropriately. I'm a little bit overweight in my build, but the field is kind of already getting there. Where do you stand with Dragic, or is there any min-price guys or close to min-price guys that I haven't talked about that you like?
Yeah, Dragic, it's interesting. Obviously, you talk about the 28 minutes that he's played in 2 of the 3 games now since he's been acquired. Coming off the bench, always a good thing when you're going to avoid some of these Kyrie Irving minutes. But that's kind of the thing is I do expect Kyrie Irving to just kind of take away a lot of this upside that we're looking at for Dragic. I know they played alongside each other there, but I mean, it's hard for me to believe that if they're on the floor together, that Dragic's going to be playing primarily with the ball in his hands at any point. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, it makes it pretty unenticing. I think also just because we know the kind of upside in fantasy upside he's had before, this is a completely different situation. So at 28%, it's kind of the way I feel about Monty Morris. If you get Will Barton in, it's just hard for me to want to play him in like 30-35% of lineups. So I think they're both guys I'm looking to short. That's kind of where I'm falling on. I like the Milton shout out. I'm a little bit over 14% out of my 150 over on DK and FanDuel. So I like the Shake Milton shout out, Bones Highland as well. I mean, you just got to find paths to get different. And I think just because I haven't projected so similarly, Awesemo has them projected so similarly, I think it's not too crazy to think that we can just pivot off of them in, $100 up, $100 down and just get a little bit different.
Yep. I don't have any kind of issue with that. And for NBA, obviously ownership matters, although less so than it does for some other high variance sports. But for a 2-game slate, I really do think we have to look at these NBA slates totally different than what we'd look at for a bigger slate, because this is where the leverage and the ownership becomes a little bit more important. It is pretty hard to differentiate on a 2-game basketball slate.
Call me touch CMT with the $9.99 to make you holler, specifically Greg Ehrenberg. Greg's cheeks look like they'd get super red in the snow/cold. Big smiley emoji, tongue out emoji. Hee hee.
Now I'm concerned. I want to know which cheeks he's talking about, because I think this could go a number of different ways. Is that how you were thinking?
We are excited to announce the launch of our premium betting picks subscription. Click the link below to subscribe to join our betting picks Discord channel. Each day, Alex Awesemo Baker, Ben Raza, Steve the Colts Buzzard, all of these guys that are just very, very sharp. They use they lead Awesemo's industry-leading projection models to identify the best potential ROI situations, and they provide a catered snapshot of betting analysis in an actionable time frame. Until March 17th, you can get a discount on these bets. Check out this promo code. Way to go, Joey Corman. Let me see those picks. Hashtag. That just sounds like a hashtag. Let's be serious. Let me see those picks at checkout. They'll give you full access for just $15 to be able to get all of the picks of the best, most foremost leading industry analysis guys. That was the weirdest, most clustered way I've ever said that in my life. Just think about it. Alex Baker, very good at sports. Ben Rasa, very good at sports. Steve Buzzard, very good at analyzing sports. Get it all right now for $15. That is, let me see those picks at checkout to get that discounted rate. Oh my Lord. Chat broke. That's cool. Hit that like button. Hit that like button for Greg's cheeks.
Promo code CW89. Let me see them cheeks.
To the forward spot we go. What is my job on a day-to-day basis? I mean, it's just absurd. Let's talk Kevin Durant here in the context of these studs. So we talked about the 3 guards you have to pay up for. You have the 2 centers to pay up for, which we will get to, of course, and Kevin Durant. I don't want to just say rank all 6, Greg, because that seems like a pretty ridiculous thing to say, because it's going to matter if you're which side you're on, doing whatever else. How does Kevin Durant fit into lineups for you today on both DraftKings and FanDuel?
By the way, Joey denies having anything to do with this promo code.
Lies.
He denies. That's what I thought too. I just texted. We'll get to the bottom of this. But, very, very, very easy. Let me see them. Very easy promo code to figure out. No issues there whatsoever.
Greg's promo code is hashtag 11 inches. Top Knox. I just got to clap. I mean, that is just beautiful stuff.
Promo code Push and P.
Push and P, baby.
Push and P. We also got some super chats. We could
here we go. Brandon Wagner, member for 12 months. Last man in with Harden, Jokic, and Maxey or Wiggins. Let me know what site, and we'll get back to that one here. Charles, hey, Greg, for Showdown. This is going to be fun because now we can get to your speciality for today, which is the Showdown slate. For Showdown of Philly, Brooklyn, I'm thinking of prioritizing Harden, Durant, and Embiid. Is going with a cheap captain viable today, as in Seth/Niang.
Let me pull up my Showdown lineups and see how many of them actually have a cheap captain. If I had to roster a cheap captain, it would be Shake Milton for tonight. So I think that, once again, if you look at the Showdown slate, and I don't expect that much from Shake Milton. A lot of people are looking at his box scores and they're saying, well, he hasn't had a good game for a while. Yeah, I don't think he needs to have a good game. I think that Shake Milton landing in an optimal lineup today is predicated on the studs playing well, not necessarily Shake Milton going out and scoring 30 fantasy points or anything like that. There's a chance that Milton goes out and scores 10. And if the studs go out and have big games, he ends up being optimal just because you need those salary savings somewhere. And he's the min price guy guard that I think makes the most sense. So my preferred options at captain are Harden and Embiid, Charles. But if you want to go cheap, I think that Shake Milton is a good contrarian route to take.
Promo code third leg, Greg. I like that one from our new guy, Nick Lepre. I like that one. And then Team McBee. Sometimes I like to wager on sports games for Bunny, but indeed help finding the best bets. Hashtag lots of things. I love 3 ROI. That's beautiful. That's a great promo code.
Rolls off the tongue. And I think that's really easy to remember. And by the way, Joey's still denying that he has anything. What's that? Tell me the promo code.
We've established that Joey is a damn dirty liar, though. Like,
that is true. He does cheat at phone games.
Didn't use Basketball Reference. I promise.
Yeah, he's gonna. I don't even know what Google is. What do you mean Google? I've never heard of this before.
As he's doing it in the corner. I was thinking about this the other day, and I don't know why, but I was just like, if I were to be Joey, and because we did a Zoom where we were watching him answer him live. And I was like, does he have like a buzzer set up? Is there some kind of a elaborate setup in order to hoax us, to make it seem as though he's getting these guesses on the spot? Or is Jordan Klein in on the ruse and giving him the answers ahead of time and then putting the baseball or basketball reference things into the group chat? I don't know. This seems like an elaborate Ponzi scheme.
And there's a lot to gain from it also. So I could see why he would be in it.
Yeah.
I could see why he would be in it.
Respect, which he doesn't get anywhere else. So get it. I get it. Andrew Wiggins, Klay Thompson, pick one.
Let's see. So I'm sure my answer is the same for DraftKings for DraftKings and FanDuel.
Andrew Wiggins. There's so many like 2v2s that are set up on this slate, whether it's Jokic or Embiid. You want to be on the right side of that one. You want to be on the right side of Kyrie and James Harden. You want to be on the right side of Wiggins and Klay. It's just finding which one, because I'm making more than one lineup. I think you guys should be too. And that's something where I'm going to have shares of both, but I'm definitely going to have more Andrew Wiggins than Klay Thompson.
Yeah, so I have Klay projected for about 3.5 more fantasy points. And considering that information, I go with Klay. The ownership's about the same for both of them, 30% for Wiggins, 35% for Klay. So not a massive discrepancy there. Certainly not a discrepancy that I think should be that. Oh, no, I was looking at the wrong.
That's okay. You were looking at FanDuel. Yeah, it's like 41 and 19.
Yes,
it's
a pretty 20% for Wiggins and 40% for Klay Thompson. With that in mind, actually, I think it's pretty close due to the ownership gap. If you are choosing one for one, I'm going to go with Klay just because of the projection gap I have between the two of them. That, and also when you look at Andrew Wiggins, I mean, he's played a little bit better as of late. Mm-hmm. I think Wiggins is probably a little bit underowned. Klay Thompson, if it's a cash game scenario, I prefer him just because I haven't projected higher. It's tough. Well, Klay's also cheaper though.
True.
I mean, really weird. Also, you know what also makes it hard to get? There's really weird positionality for Andrew Wiggins. Wiggins is only a power forward on DraftKings. Klay Thompson's a shooting guard, small forward. It's just easier to get to Klay today for me.
Yeah, well, I'm playing a lot of Klay on FanDuel, and this is kind of the conversation point. He's 16.4% leverage. I already talked about it. The highest optimal rate of anybody on this slate on the FanDuel slate. So there's that. He's just very easy to fit into lineups at 5,700 over there. On DraftKings, as you said, you have power forward only Andrew Wiggins. I think it makes it pretty sneaky to be siding with him a little bit. Feels like he's underowned every single slate. Now, this is a 2-gamer, and so I could be very wrong about this, but it would seem as though he kind of ends up being a forgotten man. Although Klay Thompson, shooting guard, small forward, that's the best eligibility, fits into more lineups. If you go overweight to him, you have paths to getting onto Barton a little bit more if that's a path that you want to take. And I surely do on this slate. But yeah, I'm still going to be overweight to Wiggins. That's kind of my stand that I'm making. But the guy that I'm the most nervous about being overweight to on this slate, I guess I'm just playing a lot of these 63 to 7K forwards. Tobias Harris has been so bad, so bad. But I have to imagine, if I'm thinking about this in 5-game sample size, he's been still around a 0.91 DraftKings points per minute player with Embiid and James Harden on the floor together. That's not drastically different from what we've seen, 0.98 for the season. He just needs to get more shot attempts up. He hasn't eclipsed 22.2% usage now in 5 games playing alongside James Harden. It's a little bit concerning, but I can't imagine that he's not going to be a bigger recipient in terms of just being able to knock down open shots from James Harden than what Tyrese Maxey has been in 3 of their 5 games here before sliding off a little bit the last 2. Is Tobias Harris somebody that you're going to be overweight on like me today?
No, and he kind of becomes somebody particularly on FanDuel you have to get some exposure to. Correct. Because if you look at the power forwards over on FanDuel, here's where the pricing goes. Kevin Durant at 10.4, Tobias Harris at 6,400, so a pretty big gap there. And then Aaron Gordon at 5,000. So Tobias Harris is just in this no man's land where it's kind of hard to get away from him. But I'm pretty concerned about what we've seen from him from a usage standpoint with James Harden in the mix. He's just been totally left out of the Philadelphia 76ers offense. And I think it's reasonable to think that's going to continue. He's not had a great season. And how far back do we have to go for him to have a decent fantasy game? About a month. February 11th.
Was 1948.
Yeah, it was
cold outside.
EMAC was only 30 at the time. It's been a while. But because there's reason that we could point to Tobias Harris and reason to think that he should continue struggling. It's a big roster change, adding James Harden there. If this was just something where, hey, he isn't making shots, then be like, hey, that's going to come around at some point. But he's not getting the shots now with Harden in the mix. It's hard for me to get behind him.
It's amazing that our coworkers tend to deal with us still. It's pretty incredible because, Well, Joey doesn't deserve it, but Emac deserves better than that. Put some respect on the name of our president, our founding father, Emac. Wasn't he one of the originals already? No, he wasn't.
Emac?
He was a founding father. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, ish. He was one of the original natives who lived in the country, so he actually predated them. And
we're going to talk about Odd Shopper in a second. No, well, we'll talk about the rest of the position here at the bottom end. We've got Kuminga there sitting at 4,300, Seth Curry 4,700, Bruce Brown 5,100. All of these guys getting over 20% rostership. It's a 2-game slate. I don't really know how to ask you this other than, is there anybody that's enticing to you at this mid-range that's sitting underneath Harris? It's that whole mid-range, because I feel like I'm underweight to all of these guys.
All right, so underneath Harris, so on DraftKings,
4K to 6,300.
4K to 6,300. No, I think Aaron Gordon's a really good option. So Aaron Gordon is 54 on DK, 5,000 on FanDuel. Keep in mind also that injury situation with the Denver Nuggets. And what happens if these guys get ruled out? I have to think that's going to mean more of a role for Aaron Gordon. Currently, the injury report for Denver: Will Barton, Bones Highland, Jeff Green, Zeke Naji, all questionable to play. We talked at the top of the show how we're going to handle it. Like, I don't know. It's a really difficult situation because it's a 2-game slate. The games are massively spread out. We're just not going to know this news in a time that's going to allow us to adjust, at least heading into the first game. But one guy who I think as is looks decent is Aaron Gordon, but then he looks really good if a couple of these guys get ruled out. So for that reason, I think that Aaron Gordon is a really strong play in that range.
Oh, Loco, you're not the most toxic person in the room. You're a lovely person. You keep things clean. You keep things neat and orderly in the old YouTube chat. We appreciate you, my friend. Plus, let us know as soon as we get that news, because it'll be in the premium Discord. Maybe it'll come in the half hour that we're talking a little bit of Odd Shopper, our friends over there. We will get to them here in a second. But first, let's round out the small forward and power forward position here. Further down, you talked about Jeff Green. Talked about some of these other guys, perhaps J. Michael Green in his absence. He did get up to 20 minutes there the other night. Somebody that I think would see an increased workload there. There's Matisse Thybulle, somebody that's been playing more minutes because defensively he just needs to be on the floor for them, and they just need him to sit in the corner and do nothing on offense. Is there anybody down here that is a little bit interesting to you? Sub 4K on DraftKings or FanDuel?
Sub 4K. I do think there's more value to be had for cheap at guard than there is at forward. There just aren't that many guys to really love in this cheaper price range. Kuminga doesn't quite make the cut because he's 4,300 and you said sub 4K. Moses Moody does have guard eligibility. We talked about him already. I can't even say I like these. Bjelica is way too popular. This is an egregious ownership for Nemanja Bjelica. Would you agree with that?
Oh, it's my least favorite play on the entire slate. I think that was what I said on the tournament plays video. Okay. But here's what happens is if you play Jeff Green, if you land on him, you have to play Bjelica if you have no salary left on FanDuel. Like, you just land on it. So he's got way too much rostership. I think people are assuming there's a lot of
I don't even agree with that. I would play JaMychal Green if Jeff Green's out. JaMychal Green, I think, would look really good if Jeff Green doesn't.
Oh, I agree with that. But isn't JaMychal Green more expensive over on FanDuel?
He's used to DraftKings though.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm looking at the FanDuel one right now as well when I'm talking about it. So JaMychal Green is 4,400 on FanDuel. So I'm just thinking about the swaps. If you end up on 3,900 Jeff Green and he doesn't go, you lose Claxton, Niang, and then Bjelica is just kind of like your de facto, I have to play them dude.
Yeah, I understand that logic. If you are playing Jeff Green on FanDuel and he gets ruled out, I mean, you're just kind of shit out of luck because the options below him aren't that good.
Then we're shit out of luck.
And what do you say?
That was from The Hangover.
Oh, okay. So, but I don't like these cheap forward options. If you want to find a way to differentiate, take Bjelica out of your player pool, particularly on DraftKings, and just hope he doesn't go off. The odds of him finding success are not that high. If he's the guy that beats me today, so be it. Bjelica, we have him projected for nearly 40% ownership. There's no way Bjelica should be in almost half the field's lineups. Now into, a ceiling game where Bjelica goes out and shoots 7 of 6 from 3 or something impossible. I don't understand how he's this popular. I don't get it at all.
Because his name's Nemanja Bjelica.
That's enough reason to roster him?
I guess so. I think that's people's logic. They just like the name. I have 8% of him, so that's not a lot of percent.
No.
So I'm just throwing it out there. I find him to be the most overowned play that you can possibly get to. The boom bust tool, I believe, was kind of pretty flat on him. Said that there was actually a little bit of positive leverage going his direction. That is surprising to me at 3,100. I'm going to probably, it's not very often I just want to say, hey, go against that. I think Moses Moody, Kevon Looney, those are kind of guys that I'm going to be getting away from a little bit more here. I'm landing on builds that do not have Nemanja Bjelica. I think that I am right there with you here. Ooh, we've got lots and lots. Oh, just one super chat. Thibault or Kuminga. That's easy enough. Aiden Jones. Thank you so much for the super chat, Greg. Thibault or Kuminga?
Kuminga. That's pretty easy for me.
Yeah, I just don't think Thibault, I mean, he can run into stocks. So, I mean, on FanDuel, there's some utility if you want to try to make that a thing, but he is going to be a complete shadow on the floor on the offensive end. There's going to be no point of him doing anything besides just go to your corner, put baby in the corner. I know you're not supposed to do that. Nobody puts baby in the corner except for when it's Matisse Thybulle in Philadelphia.
And he does look different on FanDuel than he does on DK, just because you could get one of those games from Thybulle where he goes out. We've seen games where Thybulle plays 18 minutes and gets 4 steals and 3 blocks. It's still not all that likely. And Kuminga, to me, just a much better fantasy producer.
Ryan Elliott, $1.99. Kyrie or Durant, ? And then Skittles or Snickers. Those are the important questions for today.
All right. So for me, I don't like Kyrie or Durant on this slate. I'm underweight to both of them. Are you in the same boat?
I'm a little bit. Let me just double check. Because I thought Durant was somebody that I was going to actually end up overweight to. I have 26% that is under. So yeah, I'm under on both of them too.
Yeah, so I'm under on both of them. I have more exposure to Kyrie in my build, but once again, I don't like either of them all that much as options. If I'm paying up for a guard, I like going to James Harden. And then, I mean, there aren't options to really pay up for at forward today outside of Durant, but I'd rather get up to Joel Embiid. I'd rather get up to Nikola Jokic. Durant and Kyrie are just not priorities for me.
All right, last guy to talk about here, and then we'll move on. And Top Knox, because he had a top-notch comment earlier.
But you didn't answer the second part.
Oh, I mean, I love Snickers. I can't get away from Snickers.
I can't eat either of them, so.
Oh, that's problematic.
Not really. I'm good with it.
Yeah,
but I can't eat either.
You've been blessed in other ways, Greg Ehrenberg.
That's true. That's true. I wish I had immortality like Emac does, though.
Yeah, true. It's true.
Yeah. Emac's so old that if you asked him to act his age, he would die.
Make your best bets in 30 seconds or less. Oh, actually, no, I promise I'll get to that one here in 1 second. But we have, what's my favorite Big Lebowski line? It's like, your opinion, man. It's my favorite. Where did it go? Oh yeah. Why are you getting away from Moody? Thank you. Because he's extremely popular. And if you expect him to play the way he has the last 2 games, so be it. But he's a 0.7 fantasy point per minute guy. Yeah, he's going to be in the starting unit, but there are a lot of other paths to not have to play Moses Moody. One of them is just putting a cap on him and not playing as much. I just think he's going really, really overwhelmed. Am I saying that I'm getting off of him? No, I'm just playing way less than 41% of the field. Are you, Greg?
Yeah, and once again, it doesn't mean it doesn't mean you're off him entirely or hate him as a play, but I also agree that I don't think he warrants as much ownership as he's getting. And once again, I could go to guys like Shake Milton who are picking up less ownership. I have Moody projected for more fantasy points, but I think that relative to what the ownership is, I prefer to get to Milton. And we just have to play the ownership game on a 2-game slate, or else you're going to be in a situation where it's like, oh, cool, look, all my players are doing good, but it's very difficult to cash my lineups because everybody has played the same guys. That's why 2-game slates are tricky for NBA. We have to play them a little bit differently than most other size slates.
Yep, we do that, and we play Showdown, or we head over to Odd Shopper and find the best bets in 30 seconds or less to be able to capitalize in those streets. Are you playing on sportsbooks? Are you playing on Prize Picks? Are you playing at all of these different spots? Well, there is a one-stop shop for you to be able to go and find those bets that are going to be effective, and that is oddshopper.com. Head over there for the NBA props. We're going to be talking about them 30 minutes after lock here. Might even go down the college basketball streets, which just got added. NHL props are now available in projections directly on the screen for OddsShopper. It's really fun. It's really simple. Sort your lineups based on the players, based on highest expected ROI, expected win percentage, and put in positive EV plays. I love playing over there. They have an arbitrage tool, a parlay builder that they can help put together cards for other sites. It is really, really a one-stop shop. You need to check it out here. You can find the link to OddsShopper in the description of this video, or head to oddshopper.com here, because we are going to be discussing that as the games tip off here at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you so much to them for their sponsorship of this, but they're part of Awesemo, so it makes sense. It's a beautiful place to go right now. Before it ends up behind a paywall, I suggest taking advantage of everything that we have to offer over there. All right, center time, Greg. This is a very, very important position because there are two guys at the top, Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid. We talked about them earlier because I don't know how you don't, on a two-game slate, compare them to some of the other studs. But just for the people who might be joining now, talk to them why Jokic is your preferred play over Embiid.
How did you know it was going to be Jokic? How did you know?
I am a mind reader, and also you follow logic and reason that I love.
Yeah, I also said it at the top of the show. That aside, it's always Nikola Jokic for me. I have a pretty big projection gap between the two of them. I have Jokic about 6 fantasy points higher. And once again, I don't understand why Jokic, it's a 2-game slate, so obviously he's popular. He's in about 50% of the field's lineups, but so is Joel Embiid. And I don't understand why Jokic has not been more popular lately. He has been destroying, and he's a relative contrarian play on all of these slates. Today is 51% ownership contrarian. No, that's not the case. But I think he should be like 70% owned, and Joel Embiid is, about appropriately owned. So that considered, I think Jokic is the number one top priority play on the slate. Anybody who's listened to me talk about Jokic this year is probably not surprised. That's what my take is. I have bets on him to win MVP. I love Jokic. I think he's been undervalued by a lot of people, and every single slate he plays, I have him projected for way more fantasy points than everybody else.
Wait, obviously you're not a golfer, TM Brian 007. What are you talking about? I'm an absolute golfer. I don't get what that comment is, but I love you. Melissa Harvey, $1.99. And then there wasn't a comment, but then there was. She says, as Attorney General for EMAC 2024, I must hereby demand that you stop your defamatory comments. Greg, do you have a rebuttal to this statement?
Which, where was it?
Melissa Harvey in the chat there.
Where...
Hit the like button while you're at it, everybody. It's a little bit further down. Melissa Harvey, do you have it on live chat or top chat?
Okay, here we go. So as attorney, okay, here it is. I found it. This is what threw me off, is because it wasn't in the super chat, so I had to find it. So I want to make sure I read it correctly before I address any claims. As Attorney General for EMAC in 2024, I must hereby demand that you stop your defamatory comments. Well, defamation would have to, there would have to be some sort of lie or anything here. I'm just telling the truth. EMAC's an older gentleman. There's nothing wrong with that. We love him. He's going to be our presidential candidate in 2024. And I think old is a virtue. There's a reason he's a legend, right? Legends are not young. It means you have to have experienced life. You have to have done the things that he did for limited amounts of money under the bridge to pay off his mortgage. I don't judge him for it. Whatever you have to do to pay your bills, you go out and do it. But EMAC should be our presidential candidate in 2024, not because of these defamation comments. These comments are the reasons he should be president. Nobody's more qualified. EMAC 2024.
That was a really, really long, cringeworthy statement, but I appreciate it because it allowed me to update my lineups. We have 8 minutes to go, everybody. Update your lineups too here. Other centers to talk about that aren't Jokic or Embiid, or things that aren't EMAC. Kevon Looney. We've got Andre Drummond, who is a guy that I want to get overweight to on DraftKings, 5,700 there for him. I don't think it's that hard to be able to play him. And we know the kind of fantasy upside he could have. He did play alongside Embiid here at the beginning of the season, maybe some extra incentive. I don't know how to project that. All I know is Andre Drummond can put up a lot of fantasy points in a short amount of time. That's something I want to do today. Also, DeMarcus Cousins at the bottom. If you wanted to try to get different or play a blowout narrative, would it surprise anybody if he put up 30 fantasy points in even 15 minutes? No, it would not. Greg, any other centers that make your rosters tonight?
Not really. Jokic is such a high priority for me. Embiid, the secondary pay up option. If you want to get to Andre Drummond with there not being LaMarcus Aldridge in the lineup, that makes sense. We are getting some questions about Nick Claxton. That is something that we got messaged about just now in the Discord channel. That was from, I'm pulling it up right now. VA Prince 33. Thoughts on Claxton? If you absolutely need to save salary, I think there's logic to going to Claxton at center, but it's a low priority play. I really want to try to get to as much as Jokic as possible at center. My most rostered player today.
Yep, same here. So that's going to be fun for us. Tobias Harris. I can't get rid of him on FanDuel. It's just disturbing, but it is what it is. Yo, chat, said Tom Jansen. Harris and Thibault or Wiggins and Niang. How about us? We're here. Hello. We can help you with that. Is Niang somebody who's making your rosters at all?
No.
Nope. I have none. I don't like Niang. And shout out Iowa State. They're going to lose today. Just saying that as well.
Do you remember what Embiid said about Niang at the start of the season?
No. Did he just say he sucks? Was it a Jimmy Butler comment?
Basically. So what happened was the 76ers had signed George Niang, and he remember when he was actually playing well at the start of the year? There's one time where he was part of the rotation. He was fantasy relevant. He was playing well. Well, a reporter asked Joel Embiid after one of the games, what have you thought about George Niang's play? And Embiid said, well, to be honest, when we signed him, and I'm paraphrasing, so when we signed him, I thought this guy sucked. And now I've seen him play a little bit, and he's kind of okay. I'm happy he's on our team. The long story short here, he's back to sucking again.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not great. But I do know people who want to play him over 3-3-pointers tonight.
Niang over 3-3-pointers for George Niang?
I don't know. There are things on Twitter. We can go find those places.
Let's see. George Niang. How many minutes does George Niang play today?
I don't know, but it's like a plus 250 thing, and I just wouldn't do it.
What about you did a 4 last. There's volume there.
All right, guys, this is like an inside joke for us. This is crazy, but it's still enjoyable. Sorry, guys, didn't want to bug you. Appreciate the help. You're welcome, Tom Jansen. These are the things we can do on 2-game slates. That's for sure. Do we have any other super chats? Ryan Nelson, Wolves can make a run if they avoid the Suns/Jazz. Run is all in context, my friend. And the Minnesota Timberwolves are set up to fail later in the season than they've been in a while. It's probably the right way of saying it.
It's running the way when Tony Snell plays 30 minutes and just kind of runs back and forth up the court and doesn't really do much. If you in that way, yeah, they could make a run.
Yeah, it just wins sprints in the West. That's for sure. Kuminga or Barton? We've kind of had a lot of these questions. Barton is going to be the priority for me of them. I will make these dead Barton lineups work in whatever capacity I need to. But Greg, any kind of a strong feeling there one way or the other?
It was
Kuminga or Barton.
I mean, I actually have Kuminga projected for more fantasy points. So I'm going to go towards him. On DraftKings, there's a pretty big price difference between the two, but I still wouldn't mind just leaving the salary on the table and going with Kuminga. I know he's going to be popular today, but that aside, if you're leaving a bunch of salary on the table to play him, it's probably a unique lineup.
All righty. 4 minutes to go, 3 minutes to go. Get your lineups in. That happened super, super fast. You guys are the best. Smash the like button too. I know some people tend to peel off and leave. I think you're going to want to stick around. We might get that Denver news. I think that could be very, very important. Plus, if you really enjoy sports betting, if you're in a legal state, talking through Odd Chopper is going to be something that you're going to want to stick around for as well, because Greg I don't want to be too nice to Greg because I know that he makes fun of me and that's part of the bit and what it is, but the guy is really good at getting closing line value, at being able to find value. He will never give you a play that he does not believe in, which is probably my favorite trait about him as a person, is that he will not say, oh, Eric, that's actually a good play. I didn't think about that one. He will say, Eric, you're an idiot. And I think you should be removed from Awesemo.com. He will do things like that more so. And so we got to appreciate that kind of candor, that kind of honesty. So definitely be hanging out for this half hour after the show here. Let's see. I hate that I'm playing Claxton so much. He's going to show up a lot if you're just in the optimizer. Put a cap, figure out a way around it. I have 22% over on DK. I don't want that, but it's just kind of what showed up there. I think that's a little bit below the field still, isn't it? I think it is.
Let's see. Claxton.
He's 14.5. That's actually a little bit above the field.
I'm just refreshing to make sure we didn't have a change.
Yeah.
All right.
Ken, being super sensitive to this stuff in terms of ownership.
You're sensitive to a lot of things. Claxton,
no, they're super
14% on DraftKings, over on FanDuel. He is 24.5% Claxton's up to.
Gray, $1.99. Seth or Dragic? They are trying to get this one fast. Seth or Dragic? FanDuel.
Seth Curry?
Yeah, I'm assuming so.
Well, I mean, these guys are in pretty different price range. Actually, not really that different, but Seth Curry.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be Seth between the two of them there. There we go. I thought you said Eric couldn't see those DMs. Don't know what that means, Darian. Don't get me in trouble here. I don't know what we're talking about.
Were you trying to dodge somebody's questions or something? And now
I don't know.
Exposed.
Well, I was trying to figure out exactly what the thinking was in following the logic. I couldn't follow it, but here we are, 1 minute before lock. I got my lineups in. I'm set to go here. Excited to be watching a little bit of this game. I ended up on a lot of Shake Milton, so now I can at least blame Greg for when things go wrong. I can be one of those guys on Twitter telling him with pitchforks how wrong he was, and I'm looking forward to being that guy here. But it is now time to talk a little bit of Odd Shopper. Looking forward to this one. Once again, best place to go in 30 seconds or less. Do you want to find NBA bets, college basketball bets for the NCAA tournament coming up, NHL bets, so many things that they have at your fingertips super quick. I can look at Philadelphia and Brooklyn, and, obviously they will not tip off right at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. So we probably have a second or two to be able to talk through some of the best bets there. Greg, head on over to Odd Shopper, take a look and see if there's anything that stands out to you that for this Brooklyn-Philadelphia game might look like a good bet to you.
Also, we just got, because I have our Discord channel open here as well, News God just messaged us. He wants to know what we think over under 14.5 points for Tobias Harris. I think that's a pretty fair line. For most of the season, we would look at Tobias Harris and be like, oh my God, we'd get him for 14.5 points. I haven't projected right around that number, though. He's going to play a lot of minutes. He's not going to do that much in those minutes. At least that's what it's been the case for the last few weeks now. I don't feel comfortable going under 14.5 because even though the usage is down, the shot making has been down, it's still a low number, but I don't want to go over it either, considering how low his usage and his lessened role with Harden in the mix. Do you feel that 14.5 number, there's value in the over, the under?
Yes, I think there's major value in betting it. I just pulled it up here. I bet this the other day. It was something that I talked about on the Locks Before Lock show. And, for me, my access to a lot of stuff is going to be Prize Picks. And I have an opportunity to play over there, parlay props together, and could have had a nice 4 for 4. It would have been a beautiful, beautiful day if it weren't for Tobias Harris putting up a flat total of 8 real points. We haven't projected here at Awesemo for north of that 17.15. I think that's more appropriate. As I said, I just believe that Tobias Harris is going to be a larger beneficiary than we've seen here of late. Now, rebounds, that's going to be something that he has to add in order to be more fantasy viable going forward, as well as scoring. He's never going to be an assist guy, especially with James Harden out there. He really doesn't run into a ton of defensive stats, 0.7 steals per game, 0.6 blocks per game. Nothing really stands out there, but I do expect him to be a guy who can catch and shoot a little bit better than we've seen. If he can get that usage up over 22% going forward, I think he will be the number 3 scoring option for this team. So I'm with News God. I'm going to side with him. I like the over of 14.
He just asked us if we like the over, the under.
I like the over. That was my question.
Oh, okay.
That was my answer.
I mean,
Jordan Klein. Do we need to have a talk live on air? Are you okay down there? Are we okay?
Yeah, we're just boring him. So getting back to Tobias,
he's ready to punch the clock. Get out of here.
As per usual. But getting back to Tobias Harris, that's a really lofty number in my opinion to project him for. He has not had a usage of 22% or higher since February 8th. Yep. So it's been over a month since he had the usage number that high. For that reason, I just can't project him there.
Yeah. Davon Reed viable. Davon Reed thoughts. I don't really know. I did take the over, so we're in lockstep. Thank you, Loco. You and I are in lockstep. Again, it's just thinking about it from a real life perspective. Tobias cannot play worse. He can't play worse. I don't believe that he can play worse than he's played since this acquisition. I refuse to believe that he'll just be in the corner making, $30 million a year that his dad negotiated the contract of, and that's just going to kind of be that. I think he's going to get more involved going forward.
Could be. I'd rather see it before putting my hard-earned money on it. As for Davon Reed, so obviously, if these guys are going to be out for the Denver Nuggets on a shortened slate, Reed started last game, didn't do anything with the start relative to a bigger size slate. But he played 22 minutes. He scored 15 fantasy points for a 2-game slate. That's pretty good production. Here's the issue. If we see Barton, Najee, and Bones Hunt, if all these guys play, there's a pretty good chance Reed plays 0 minutes, which would be problematic.
That's usually bad.
Yeah, it's not great.
I prefer players that I roster to play minutes of time on a court.
I agree. I'm on the same page as you, but with Reed, if we do see all these guys active for Denver, do you still think he'd be viable or no?
No, he would not be. He's actually had some random games where we got into the rotation. I mean, I went to that Clippers game. They had everybody active except for Aaron Gordon, which was obviously a big piece back over Christmas time. And I remember Davon Reed being a guy that was knocking down everything. Every NBA player can knock down shots in pregame warmups and then ends up taking that out on the floor. I believe Florida State product, a guy that coming out of college, I thought had a little bit of game. I watch a lot of college basketball. That's going to come in handy next week when everybody becomes a college basketball tout. Looking forward to that. But especially now with Odd Shopper, college basketball projections directly on the page. They are going to be awfully fun to look at with all the tournaments going on here. Tyrese Hunter, take the over of 10.5. That's my little tip there as an Iowa State guy. They're going to lose, but Tyrese Hunter is definitely going to score more than 10.5 points. So Odd Shopper agrees with me there. The second best prop in terms of best projected win percentage on the day. But yeah, Davon Reed, not really going to be viable whatsoever if you get Barton in.
Yeah. And once again, if he ends up, and I'm not really giving anybody earth-shattering information, but if players start to get ruled out for Denver and Reed starts, he's obviously viable in that sense for a 2-game slate. Just as of now, it's hard to know. We don't. The game starts 3 hours from now. We've got no injury updates.
Isn't that fun?
Oh, it's the best. I mean, I know you love this slate. So for you, it's probably more fun. For me, I'm like, yeah, this is kind of shitty.
I do enjoy these garbage things where you have to make ridiculous decisions. And here's the way I look at it. There's going to be a lot of days in NBA DFS you lose more than you win. So why not do the things that are going to help you win more often? And then you capitalize. Like if Will Barton is ruled in, I'm going to have massive leverage over everybody. It's impossible for the field to have enough roster spots to match me. So it's a winning proposition long term.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking a zero if he doesn't. I
don't know.
Play.
For a 2-game slate, I don't even know though.
It's hard.
2-game slates are dicey because it's really a guessing game.
Yeah. But then there's certain times, like for me, I mean, we did an 8-game slate where DeMarcus Cousins was very, very obviously after lock, the best play of the slate. And you just kind of threw everything out the window that you thought you knew about the slate. And you just rostered 100% or as much as you could get to of the guy. So there's like glaringly obvious things. I think on a 2-game slate, it's kind of equivalent to that because you have a $4,900 Barton and relative to the field, he's the most underowned guy, period. You're getting that same amount of leverage relative to that DeMarcus Cousins slate. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that does make sense. The difference here, though, or at least with the Cousins, it was just so easy to make swaps when there's that many players.
Right.
Here, I think you get into a situation where, all right, guys get ruled out or guys get ruled in, and there's only one game left. And there's just no way to make swaps.
Does anybody have JTA? I think Greg Toscano-Anderberg does.
No, I haven't protected for 0 minutes, so that's a no.
Oh, it would be too good. Oh, I actually have like 8%. Leave it to Eric to manage to bring up late swap on a 2-gamer. El Cuatro Loco, you're welcome. Glad to be here for you. Let's head on over to Odd Shopper here and look at some NBA bets here for the nightcap. Denver Nuggets versus Golden State Warriors. Best projected win percentages. Are there anybody in terms of best win, best expected ROI, anything that you've got your eye on for tonight, Greg?
Yeah, so this is going to be one of these bets that I've talked about quite a bit recently. Klay Thompson is projected for, not that him blocking a ton of shots. When we think of Klay Thompson, we don't go, oh, shot blocker, but he is plus 140 to have at least one block today. So over 0.5 blocks is plus 140. And it's about a 50-50 proposition. We have him projected with a 52% chance to have a block. I also have him projected right around half a block. If you look at Klay Thompson's numbers for the year, he is averaging 0.7 blocks per game. The number itself, the 0.5, is not the issue. It's about a 50-50 chance. It's that it's plus money. It should be minus 110 on both sides for the over, the under on blocks, and that's just not the case. So there's a little bit of value there. For that reason, that's why we have with a 26% projected ROI, just because the line is incorrect in terms of what the odds are.
Yeah, how about that assist prop next to Klay as well? I took advantage of that over on Prize Picks. Again, there are multiple ways that you can have Odd Shopper work for you. And I live in California. There have to be different things you do in order for me to play player props. And luckily, there's a lot of sites that allow me to do that now. Klay Thompson, 3.5 assist projection. Do I expect Klay Thompson to go out there and be distributing like crazy? No, but I expect more minutes for him than we've seen of late. He's healthier as he was progressing into the rotation. He was always going to see more minutes, 34. That's going to be the season high we've seen for him last game. If he's going to be playing around 32, 34 minutes going forward here in games that are competitive, which we expect it to be in Denver, he's going to run into more assists than this a number of times. So for me, it's a minutes plus opportunity type deal. He averages 2.9 on the season. So I'm confused as to why now all of a sudden he's going to be at 2.5 here for the number. So I think with an expected win percentage, which I'm the most concerned about because I don't need to think about minus 125 playing on the sites that I take advantage of. I love getting to some Klay Thompson over.
Yep. I'm on the same page with you right there. We have him projected for 3.5 assists. The number is 2.5. And then once again, look at Klay's numbers this year. Beyond that, also I have him projected for nearly 4 assists today. Just look at his numbers. He's averaging 3 assists per game, but keep in mind also that he was on a minutes restriction for a little bit of a while, and that's gone now. So even with the minutes restriction, he was averaging more assists than what this current line is. Now we're giving him, not unlimited minutes, obviously, but a full allotment of minutes. And the number should be 3.5. It isn't.
Yep. Love it. It's just a great play. And you can just very easily find that in like 10 seconds of work, pulling it up, sorting by the game, and it's going to match up. So definitely going to be a positive EV way to go about it going forward. As I said before, if you go to the top of the page, you have NCAA. I know you're all participating in the tournament. I know everybody becomes a bracketologist this time of year, but if you want to get ahead of the books right now, if you want to get ahead of some of these people that think that they know about college basketball and might lead you astray, which Matt Gajewski and Ben Raza are not going to be doing come tournament season. 2 of the sharpest guys. They flat out picked a 15 seed over a 2 seed last year and got it right. I can't remember who it was that beat Ohio State, but it was beautiful stuff. You want to be taking advantage of some of their bets that they have going. Once again, that promotion we have going to be able to check out some of the bets behind the paywall now. $15 for let me see your picks. Use that for the promo code because of course you do. But you're able to sort by and see some of those plays as well. You can combine those at a number of places, not just sports books, but over on Prize Picks, wherever else you might be playing. You can parlay those together from multiple sports and you are set to go. So take advantage of some of that as well. And NHL, if you're in the NHL streets, because again, expected win percentage, expected ROI, it doesn't matter what sport it is. I just want to get the best that I can in for my money. So that is the goal, no matter what sport it is. Anything else in the NBA streets that sticks out to you as a positive EV bet for tonight, Greg?
Beyond that, let's see. Where do I
don't think either of us want to take the under on Nikola Jokic assist prop.
No. And I'm looking through some of the other ones. Then we're starting to get to, some bets that I think you could logic have, like, Moses Moody. We do have some value, 21% projected ROI on the over 0.5 steals number. I feel a little bit better about the Klay one than the Moody one, though, especially because let's see, Moody's recent game, he does have steals in back-to-back games overall for the season. He is averaging 0.1 steals per game. I know it's only in 11 minutes, but even if we're going to say he's going to play mid-20s minutes, over the course of the season, we're looking like 0.2 or 0.3 steals. So maybe a little bit of value, but not too much in that number. It's only one game to talk about. I don't want to make people go out and bet something I don't like. So there's nothing else that I really think looks all that appealing.
All right. Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's just kind of, I think it's kind of meh looking at the rest of the game. I do like Jordan Wright, the over on points for him, 10.5. Something come tournament time. You see these second leading scorers for teams in NCAA. They get a little extra run because every game has extra importance in terms of seeding, in terms of everything else. Rotations tend to tighten down a little bit, and it's not always factored into the numbers. So I'm telling you, college basketball is really where you want to be putting a lot of your money in. And I just love that Odd Shopper is now available for it too. That is a spot to be paying attention to. Jordan Wright, he plays for Vanderbilt, for those who do not follow the college basketball streets. And Tyrese Hunter, That is my Iowa State guy over on his points as well. But looking at shorting some of the leading scores, just because, you get those second and third options. It's not like the leading scores are generally going to see any kind of a huge minutes flux compared to their season average. They're usually on the floor for most of those 40 minutes as is. So just want to be throwing that out there, get you guys aware as we get into college basketball DFS for next week. Looking forward to that as well. Anything else that you want to talk about from the NBA streets for Odd Shopper?
No, I wish we could go a little bit more in depth with this, but there's only one game left, and we've kind of hit on everything that I think is value at this point. So nothing else. Is there anything else that stands out to you?
Well, I think this might be a fun thing to talk about because you are the futures king, and you're the guy that everybody is looking to on Twitter. We also have futures available on Odd Shopper. We can look at Nikola Jokic, MVP odds compared to Joel Embiid. This is a gigantic night. We have two primetime games, Embiid going first and Jokic going second. Let's theoretically say Joel Embiid has a dud, just an absolute dud. He's the minus 130 favorite right now. That is the best number you can find for him. Whereas Nikola Jokic has plus 170. Is there any type of value you might have by betting Jokic for MVP before his game starts?
In general, I think that 170 number, which if you guys go check out Odd Shopper, you could see it is a way different number than what every other book is offering. So you get plus 170 on Jokic, but at every other book, he's 140, 135, 145. I actually think that the odds for Jokic and Embiid should be flipped right now. It's a two-man race for MVP, in my opinion. I know some people have made a case for Giannis. Some people have egregious third people, I think, where people are like, what about Moran or DeRozan or... None of those guys are in the conversation, in my opinion. We're looking at Jokic, we're looking at Embiid. I think Jokic should be a favorite at this point, and I know this isn't necessarily the end-all, be-all. I put a poll up on my Twitter account yesterday, just asking people who should be the MVP this season. And I think this is probably a pretty good barometer of where, not just where the public is at, but where voters' minds are probably at too. And, about 1,000 people responded to the poll. I said, who should be the MVP right now? And it was 77% Jokic to 23% Embiid. I kind of think that aligns with how people would vote for the MVP right now as that being the logic. Plus 170 for Jokic. I think those are reasonable enough numbers. I did bet Jokic again last night, actually, and I've been betting him for a little while now. I think the longest number I have on Jokic is 21-1. I bet on him for MVP last year as well. I think he's being undervalued, even though he's only plus 170. The odds might seem short. He's the best player in the league. I don't think there's too much debate about it. I know that people like to look at the standings and they'll say, well, look, the 76ers are higher up in the standings. The 76ers are one game better than the Denver Nuggets. The record is basically a wash. And I think that Jokic, if we're to do an NBA draft, everybody's a free agent, teams redraft. Jokic goes first without much question, right?
Oh, I mean, it's him versus Giannis in whatever capacity you want. I think Nikola Jokic is the second best player in the NBA behind Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, Giannis, part of what works with him is that schematically, you can put him alongside a number of different guys. Drew Holiday was a gigantic addition for the Milwaukee Bucks, but when you're talking about individual entities, Nikola Jokic gets to be the guy in any circumstance around whoever he's with. He works well with Jamal Murray. He works well with Michael Porter Jr. with volume scores. He's got the vision and the ability to do that. Giannis is the guy that can just go out and I think be the centerpiece of what you do offensively just for himself in terms of creation for himself. So it would really have to, for me, if you're going to surround him with a lot of other guys that just need to be, just catch and shoot guys, Nikola Jokic probably goes first for me. But if you're planning on building that team around one guy where it doesn't matter who else falls in line with them, I think I probably go Giannis.
And then just back on the Jokic versus Embiid point, though, at what point does games played matter? Also, if all else is equal, Jokic has played in 7 more games than Embiid. That's not an insignificant amount of games. I would think for some people that could even be the tiebreaker, because if somebody says that their go-to guy for MVP this year is Embiid, I don't have an issue with that. I do think it's fairly close. You can make an argument for either guy, but with it being that close for a lot of people, I think Jokic playing 7 more games is not a bad tiebreaker.
No, I don't either. And how about we just go to, like, for me, advanced metrics. Oh, we'll get to the super chat here in a second. We're finishing the loop on this one. He's got what? We've got an hour or 2 hours and 12 minutes to get that bet in. We'll definitely get there. Appreciate you, Greg.
Is the next 76er game ever going to start?
No, it's never. It's still 20 minutes almost after lock, and we're just sitting here chilling. Offensive box plus minus. We're looking at that. We're talking about the best in the league back-to-back years, 9.1 and 9.3. He's been better than his MVP season last year. Box plus minus 14 this season compared to 12.1 last year. You've got a value over a replacement, 7.9. Both of these are league leading. He's literally the league leader in all of these advanced metrics for the last 2 years. Win shares per 48 minutes, 303, 301 there in 2020, 2021. I just don't think it's really close by advanced metrics that you couldn't say that Jokic has been the most important player to any individual team. His offensive rating is 125. His defensive rating is 104. I mean, he does it well on both ends. And I'm not saying that Embiid doesn't, but I mean, these are drastic differences between Jokic on the floor and off the floor for this goal or for this Nuggets team.
My favorite number, and I don't remember exactly how long ago this was, but somebody just found out based on the point differential for the Denver Nuggets when Jokic is on the court versus when he's off the court. And these numbers are probably not exactly the same now, but it's about the same case. Denver this year, I think it was during the time that Jokic is on the court, they were equivalent of a 69 win team. When Jokic is off the court, they were a 7-win team. So it just goes to show this team also, he has just nothing going on around them. And I do think of MVP as an individual award, not a team award. But the point more so being that if anybody's going to look at the standings and say, well, oh, look, this team won one more game, that should be the difference maker. I mean, Jokic just has absolute shit for teammates. The team goes to total crap the second he comes off the court. And it's not really his fault that his bench sucks. But that's when Denver loses games, it's generally because of what happens when Jokic isn't on the court.
Yeah, am I going to beat down the door and cry blasphemy if Joel Embiid wins? No, I'm not. But Jokic should win right now by all metrics, by all numbers that we care about or should care about. Jokic has been the most important and valuable player to his team. So there's that. That's my 2 cents there. We move on. Greg, we've got 9 minutes left here. Again, I want this game to start so we can actually talk about something going on live here. Odd Shopper, say that again. Did it start? I just saw Baylor and Oklahoma. I had that game on in the corner because I just needed something. It started. Cool. 2-2, 1 minute in. Joel Embiid, bucket. Durant, bucket. Bruce Brown out there blocking Joel Embiid. That makes sense.
2-2. There we go. Let's start. Time to start sweating. Also, somebody saying Nuggets don't have a shot winning the title. I actually disagree with that. I think Denver is one of the best values to win the title right now because in the next month, Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. are both expected to come back. If they are both healthy for the playoffs, I might even outright favor Denver in a series against Golden State right now. So
I would too. I mean, Phoenix is outrageous. This is the train that keeps on trucking. 13 losses. The next team in the NBA has 22. That's ridiculous. They're ridiculous.
Yeah, and what are you expecting from? Well, I guess let's just answer the super chat so we get those.
Oh, okay. All right, here we go. I also had a chopper like directly overhead my apartment. Great, $1.99. What's y'all's spread/money line pick for Golden State and Denver? I'm not going to be doing that. And if you could take advantage maybe of some closing line value where Barton gets ruled out and you want to take some Golden State there. They're minus 131 on the money line. Sounds great. I don't think it's going to move the needle for me that much. Not the way that like a Jokic or anything. Looking at the Awesemo NBA betting model, which is still a free trial as well. You can check that out. Looks as though it is the most efficient line you could possibly run into. The expected win percentage for the over is 45%, expected win percentage for the under 55%. And in terms of the spread money line pick, we're looking at a negative minus 7% expected ROI going to Golden State. There might be a tiny bit of value as Denver being the home dogs there, but not anything that I'm looking to run to the window to go bet.
If I had to bet a side, it would be Denver. I have not bet a side, but I think that right now, the Warriors, particularly without Draymond Green, are just an overvalued team. Like you said, also Denver's at home. Something else to consider also, what's to do with Steph Curry? He is not having a good season relative to Steph Curry's standards. Now, does that mean Steph Curry is bad or anything like that? Does it mean Steph Curry is washed? Absolutely not. It just means he's no longer the same player he was in the past, I don't think. And his shooting numbers are just bizarre this year. We've never seen Steph Curry as a sub 40% 3-point shooter. He is currently shooting 37.7% from three. That would be the lowest mark of his career by far. If we discount, he had the season where he broke his wrist and only played like 100 minutes. If we take that season out of the mix, then 37.7%. His next lowest career shooting percentage is 41.1%. So a massive drop off for him. I think we're kind of starting to see some signs of age from Steph Curry. 33 years old, turns 34 in a couple weeks.
I think also, and this is Eric in his tinfoil hat, so I'm going to do this. I think a guy like Steph Curry, having his parents get divorced very publicly in a way that probably is not great. He's used to having his parents in the stands, sitting together for every game, watching everything, supporting him, having it be like this really nice, or from all appearances, this well put together family that is out there supporting each other. I think there's probably something mental going on there as well that is hard to quantify. It'd be impossible for me to sit here and say that that's a big deal. But I think if my parents that I was close with, I mean, I'm 34 years old. If my parents just out of the middle of nowhere ended up having a divorce where things were getting drawn through the mud, it'd probably affect me in my job and doing things on a day-to-day basis. I don't know how a professional athlete might be immune to some of it. Now, that's very much conjecture. I'm just saying this is like another thing that can be thrown in there. But as you said, he's getting up there in age, number of factors, but also, again, just used to probably things being perfect at home and maybe not at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, who's that stuff's absolutely impossible for us to know. It doesn't mean it can't play a factor. It doesn't mean it can't play a factor. It's just how would we know? It's access to it's certain information. We just don't have it all. What was
J Rowe? Just look at J Rowe's comment. I'm not even going to say it in chat because Steph Curry's mom is hot. There's that.
J Rowe.
Look at J Rowe's comment in chat. He's just pointing out the obvious.
Oh, okay. What's the old Warriors coach? The old Warriors coach.
Oh, Derek Fisher.
No.
Derek Fisher. Mark Jackson.
Mark Jackson. Yeah. Right. With the clip when he was talking about LeBron's wife that one time. That's J Rowe in chat right now.
A little thirsty. 4 minutes to go. It's 13-7. Brooklyn getting out to a hot start. Kevin Durant, 8-2-1, 4 for 4 from the field. He is upset. He does not like James Harden. He is going out there. Again, these are all I'm just saying things that don't really have any factor into it. Do I think Steph Curry is truly affected just by his parents' divorce? I don't know, but it's just something to throw out there where it might play a factor.
Wouldn't it be funny if you were so spiteful towards somebody though that you just became 100% 3-point shooter? I hate him so much that I'm going to make all of my threes today.
He hasn't even shot a three, but yes, that's exactly kind of the thinking where it's like, what are people getting at when they say stuff like that, where it matters? And I know my buddy Rimpak, he loves his lady drama in terms of analyzing NBA stars wanting to show out in certain cities or against certain players of exes and things of that nature. I mean, a Ben Simmons, Devin Booker finals would be one of my favorite things of all time.
It would be, well, number one, you'd have to get Ben Simmons to play in that game.
It's problematic.
I think if you could have any one playoff series between any two teams, which would it be? Because I think it's 76ers Nets.
Yeah, I mean, 76ers Nets in the terms of the playoffs this year, yeah, that would be the absolute coup de grace. You couldn't beat that.
It's the actual best NBA rumor was the Delonte West, LeBron James mom one.
I think it happened though, didn't it? I've heard it so many times that I have to believe it did.
How would I know?
I don't know. Delonte West hasn't been in the NBA for like 15 years. Shout out, what was it? St. Joseph's? He went to St. Joe's. That's what it was. Him and Jameer Nelson back in the day. Oh, those were the college basketball days.
Sober again, Delonte West. Saw some videos of him shooting around in basketball. He's only 38 years old. Wouldn't you think he's way older than that?
Oh, man. Well, because, I mean, think about how long Jameer Nelson was in the league. I know they played college ball together. That is a long time. That is a shout out, by the way. One seed St. Joe's.
All-star Jameer Nelson. Made an all-star team. Jameer Nelson. How old do you guess Jameer Nelson is?
39. Had to be about the exact same.
He's 40.
It's 40. Okay. Yeah. I know he's like a year older than Delonte. So there you go. T McB, what are we saying here? The brothers are meeting before the game to decide whether they want to live with mom or dad from now on. Yeah, Steph Curry has that problem for sure. It's affecting his golf game for sure. Maybe that's what it is. Too much golf for Steph.
Yeah, that or he just needs to find players he hates more, like Kevin Durant, and he'll make all his shots again.
Makes sense. James Harden knocks down a 3 as we get ourselves out of here. Everybody head to oddshopper.com. Well, first of all, smash the like button. I want to get this well north of that 900 number that we're sitting at. Maybe it's updated. It hasn't updated on my screen. 899. Please smash that like button as we get ourselves out of here. Greg and I working overtime for you guys. Half hour on a 2-game slate. Yeah, that took some work, y'all. This is not for the faint of heart. You guys are the real ones. So please hit that like button for us. But oddshopper.com, head over there for all of your NBA betting, your college basketball betting, your NHL betting needs, NFL when it comes back, and MLB just around the corner now. Greg, any final thoughts with the MLB officially out of their lockout?
I have one thought. It's EMAC 2024.
It's a beautiful thing. Jordan Klein behind the virtual glass. Thank you so much to him hanging out. He had an absolute blast. He was a trooper today. Not a bad attitude in sight. That was sarcasm. Yeah, look at that. You're just whatever else. We'll get out of here. Go follow him at Ehrenberg DFS. Go follow me at Eric Lindquist. We are going to get ourselves out of here. Thank you so much to Odd Shopper. Best of luck tonight.